Chapter 1470. Xia Lei went straight to the bathroom when he returned to the cave where he was temporarily staying. He took off his clothes and casually threw them on top of the rock where the surveillance camera was hidden. He turned on the shower head, but did not take a shower. He took out several electronic parts from his pockets, then squatted under the rock and quickly assembled them. 10 minutes later, a palm-sized electronic device was born. Charlotte activated it, and a 3D projection appeared in the bathroom, looking exactly like him. At the same time, a prompt appeared on the box-shaped electronic device. Cutting off real-time surveillance, entering unlimited implant mode, virtual image successfully synchronized with surveillance center. The virtual Charlotte walked out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, and walked towards the bed. When he reached the bed, he did not cover himself with the blanket, but lay down on it to sleep. The virtual person could not lift the blanket and crawl into bed. Charlotte walked out of the bathroom, and the jacket he had taken off returned to his body. This was the reason why he wanted to send Bai Ling home and hypnotize her. He was constantly under the strict surveillance of the Heavenly Jewel Academy, and he had to find a way to escape. The electronic parts used to assemble the smart jammer were stolen from Bai Ling's house, and the program was also programmed in the computer in Bai Ling's house. The smart jammer that he had casually made could not only interfere with the surveillance cameras in the cave, but it could also project a 3D image that was 98% realistic. At this moment, the Heavenly Jewel Academy's surveillance center staff saw him sleeping on the bed, but in reality, he had already walked into the tunnel in the cave. The tunnels in the volcano were all over the place, but most of them were the same. If he was lucky, he felt that he might be able to sneak into a higher-level place and obtain valuable clues. After entering the tunnel, Charlotte kept walking forward. Every time he passed a bend or a tunnel, he would ask Xiao Lei to sprinkle some water on the ground. Using a military knife to carve marks on the walls was a more convenient and dignified way to solve the problem, but he could not do that. That was because no matter how small the marks were, no matter how hidden they would be left behind forever, and would be discovered if one was more careful. With his extraordinary sense of smell, he would be able to smell the scent he left behind the next day, so this was actually a way to solve the problem without leaving a trace. It's just that's all. Keep walking, keep walking. Half an hour later, Charlotte arrived at a position parallel to the bottom of the college, which was also parallel to the bottom of the honeycomb. He stopped in his tracks and raised a piece of spirit ore above his head, letting the light blue light shine on a wider area. He saw two forks, one extending horizontally, the other slanting underground. Be it horizontally or diagonally downwards, there was no end in sight. In absolute darkness, his vision would also be limited, because the principle of the eye seeing objects was the refraction of light. If there was no light, the object would not be able to refract light, and his eyes would not be able to see. Should he continue down or should he walk sideways? Charlotte hesitated for a moment, but quickly made a decision. He walked towards the horizontal branching tunnel. There might be some secrets underground, but now is not the time to explore the underground world. The Heavenly Jewel Academy chose this place, so there must be a reason. I'd better understand the general structure of the Heavenly Jewel Academy first. As he walked, Charlotte thought to himself. This was another east-west branching tunnel. There were more tunnels within tunnels, and more tunnels within tunnels. Along the way, Charlotte had entered at least 50 to 40 tunnels. If it were anyone else, they would have long been lost in this cobweb-like underground world. But to him, it was as if he had a god's view. Everywhere he walked, a map was left in his head, and this map would automatically update as his footsteps extended. Furthermore, he had a second layer of insurance, his urine. Now, even if he completely lost all light and could not see anything, he could still walk out of this underground maze with the scent of his urine. After about 2 kilometers, Charlotte stopped again. In front of him was a cliff, and below it was a bottomless abyss. Opposite him was a precipice, and above his head, lifting his head, Charlotte stared blankly at the scene above him. It was a huge metal plate, and it was not any ordinary steel plate, but a silver titanium alloy. Titanium alloy was the main alloy used by humans for aviation. It was usually used on fighter aircrafts and spacecraft. Although he had not seen any human spacecrafts in this world, he knew that titanium alloy was still the main alloy used for manufacturing spacecraft. Of course, this world's titanium alloy technology was much more advanced than Earth's titanium alloy technology. However, here, in this pitch-black underground world, it was actually being used as a floor. Even if the Heavenly Jewel Academy is rich in resources, it shouldn't be possible to use titanium alloy as a floor, right? There must be something wrong with it, Charlotte thought to himself as he started to look for a way to climb up. Right at that moment, a foul smell wafted into his nose, and his gaze shifted to the abyss below. That foul smell was the stench of rotting corpses. There were corpses down there. Titanium alloy floor, corpses. This place was filled with a strange aura. Charlotte removed the blue tank tendon that was wrapped around the blue tank battle armor. The blue tank battle armor's blue tank tendon was very thin, and it wrapped around the blue tank battle armor in circles. Usually, it looked like a belt, but it was a different entity from the blue tank battle armor. Charlotte untied it, and in his hands was a rope that was about 30 meters long. He tied the spirit or used for illumination to one end of the blue tank tendon rope, and then lowered it into the abyss. Actually, it was not an abyss, because if it was a few hundred meters or even 1,000 meters deep, the stench of corpses would not float up. He estimated that the abyss in front of him was only a few dozen meters high. As expected, when the blue tank tendon rope reached the end, his eyes finally saw the situation below clearly with the light emitted by the spirit ore. Below the cliff was a huge pit, about 100 meters high. The bottom of the pit was filled with corpses, some of which were so badly decomposed that their faces could not be recognized. Some of the corpses were thrown down not long ago, and their faces and clothes could still be seen clearly. A fresh corpse entered Charlotte's sight. It was a young face. Black blood seeped out of his eyes, and his death was horrifying. There was a number on his clothes, number 145. Wasn't he the tester who had X-ray vision according to the report? Charlotte suddenly remembered the report, and his eyes moved to the titanium alloy floor above his head. Earlier, he had suspected that there was something wrong with it, but now he was sure that there was something wrong with it. A few minutes later, Charlotte arrived at the bottom of the pit. He stepped over the highly decomposed corpses and came to number 145's side. A person who also had X-ray vision was dead, and Charlotte could not resist the temptation to find some clues or reason from him. When he came to number 145's side, Charlotte did not hesitate and immediately activated his X-ray vision, allowing his eyes to look into number 145's body. He saw the report in Kantu Nana's memory, and the report was on Tang Xing's desk, and it was open. In other words, Tang Xing was still reading the report at that time, and the body had not been dealt with. That time was less than 4 hours from now, and the disposal of the body would probably be delayed. Therefore, number 145's body was actually a relatively fresh one. In that case, his brain might not be truly dead. This was what Charlotte wanted to do. He wanted to dig out valuable information from number 145's brain. The standard for a person's death was the cessation of their heartbeat and breathing, but for the brain, the time of death was much longer. After a person died, his brain even had to go through 3 days before it was truly dead. As long as his brain was not truly dead, theoretically, he could dig out information from number 145's brain. The results of the X-ray vision soon came out. Number 145's internal organs were not decomposed, and neither was his brain. Most of his brain cells were still alive, but they were not capable of thinking. After the results of the X-ray vision came out, the imprint of the universe in the depths of Charlotte's soul trembled slightly. The power of the imprint immediately surged out of his body and entered number 145's brain. Under the effect of the imprint, number 145's brain cells were immediately nourished, and they began to become active. Although they could no longer control the nerves to awaken number 145's corpse, their thoughts had recovered. Although it was only a partial recovery, it was enough for Charlotte. More and more brain waves entered Charlotte's brain, and his brain processed them at the same time. The relevant information appeared in his brain. This information included fragments of memories, heard voices, signed documents, and so on. It was all kinds of miscellaneous information, and it was all-encompassing. After his brain filtered through the information, an image of a memory appeared in Charlotte's brain. It was in a huge metal room. When it appeared in Charlotte's brain, Charlotte's heart jumped violently. He could not help but look up at the titanium alloy floor above his head. Previously, he could not understand why the Heavenly Jewel Academy would use titanium alloy as a floor, but now he understood. It was not a floor, but the bottom of a spaceship. This spaceship could not possibly have the ability of the Origin to travel through any space or time at will, or even to go underground to hide. It was not difficult to guess that a large part of this spaceship must be in the endless sea. Charlotte's shock did not affect his brain as it continued to replay the memory of number 145. The huge military room was filled with scientific research and experimental equipment. Huang Kai and Tang Xing were both in that room. Number 145 looked very nervous and excited in front of them. Huang Kai took out a syringe from an open portable freezer. The syringe was filled with some kind of liquid. It was mostly a pure color, but there were many sparkling things in it, looking like stars in the sky. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. Could that be E's original form? At this time, Huang Kai smiled and said, "Number 145, this is the original fluid for artificial evolution. As long as you inject it, you will gain power as strong as us, and become a branded warrior. Are you ready?" Number 145 said excitedly, "I'm ready." Huang Kai inserted the syringe into number 145's artery. After the injection was completed, number 145's body did not have any obvious reaction. He stood in front of Huang Kai and Tang Xing, carefully feeling the changes in his body. "Go back and rest," Tang Xing said. "There won't be a reaction so soon, but I believe you will succeed. You are the most outstanding among this batch of testers. Seize the opportunity. The branded army looks forward to your joining." "Thank you, sir." Number 145 saluted, then turned and left. Chapter 1471. More and more truths came to light. The AE did not succeed, and Professor Pompey had found another way to do it, organizing some researchers to do new research. In the end, they were targeted by Blackbeard's men and killed before they could do anything about it. Although the Heavenly Jewel Academy's AE was not a complete success, it was still relatively close to success with 100 branded warriors. During dinner, Tang Xing, Huang Kai, and even Bai Ling had been very grateful to him for solving the problem. That was actually proof. At that time, Tang Xing and Huang Kai had been very nervous and excited, and the reason was not hard to guess. He had also used AE before, and he knew what kind of side effects would occur after starting the path of evolution. Furthermore, the side effects would get stronger and stronger, eventually turning the person into a demon. Every branded warrior was suffering from terrible side effects, and the risk was getting higher and higher. This was the reason why the Heavenly Jewel Academy urgently wanted to perfect AE and solve the problem. After figuring this out, the conjecture that had once made Xia Lei break out in a cold sweat emerged again. The holy thunder from 1,000 years ago was none other than his predecessor. His predecessor had the same mission as him, to find the missing piece of the box of the world, but his predecessor had failed. Before he failed, he had made some preparations, sending the incomplete AE back to Earth to wait for his reincarnation. Now he was here, with the same mission, to find the missing piece of the box of the world, and at the same time to perfect AE, preparing for the next reincarnation. The next time, the reincarnated person would receive better resources, a higher starting point, and come back with the same fate: failure after failure, reincarnation after reincarnation, correcting mistakes in failure and starting all over again. He was the chosen one by the origin, and he could not escape his own fate. In the darkness, in the thick stench of rotting corpses, Xia Lei put away his imagination and said to himself, "If the holy thunder from 1,000 years ago was my predecessor, and I am in the cycle of reincarnation set by origin, then I hope this is the last time I have to find that piece." Fragments of new memories surfaced in his mind. It was number 145 walking through a metal tunnel. On both sides of the tunnel were metal doors. He stopped at the end of the tunnel, and a scanning device scanned him. The hatch at the end of the tunnel opened, and a huge space appeared in front of him. He walked in. It was the bridge of the spaceship. There were countless devices in the bridge, as well as a very, very large window. Through the window, he could see the blue seawater. A school of silver fish was swimming past the window. Suddenly, a ferocious big fish leaped up from below, opened its bloody mouth, and swallowed more than half of the group of small silver fish. All of this seemed to be a common sight for the people in the bridge, and no one even spared a glance at it. Number 145 walked up to a white-haired old man and bowed respectfully. "Dean, number 145 reporting for duty." This white-haired old man was the principal of the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy, Roland. "It's good that you're here. Do you know why I asked you to come?" said Roland. "Yes, I'm ready," number 145 said with determination in his eyes. "That's good." Roland pointed at the 3 boxes on the console and said, "One of your companions is in a cabin without oxygen. He has about 3 minutes left. The password to open the cabin door is in one of the boxes. You have to see the password without opening the box, and then use 2 minutes to open the cabin door and rescue your companion." Number 145 suddenly became nervous. He stared at the 3 boxes. His eyes began to shine brightly, as if a light bulb had encountered a strong electric current. Time passed bit by bit, but he still couldn't see the password in the box. He became a little anxious. Roland had been observing number 145 the whole time. A minute had passed, but number 145 still hadn't found the password he had hidden in the box. Roland frowned. At this moment, blood suddenly seeped out of number 145's eyes. He looked very scary, but just as he started to bleed, he suddenly said excitedly, "I see it. I'll go save him right now." Number 145 turned around and ran toward the cabin door he had come from. This memory was obviously the memory of a period of time after number 145 was injected with the AE solution. His ability had begun to show. Charlotte's ability also started from X-ray vision. At first, his eyes also had a feeling of shining, but it was only a flash, and it was not obvious at all. Moreover, he had never bled because of X-ray vision. He had also experienced side effects, but they were just hallucinations and physical weakness. Other than that, everything else was normal. This memory gave Charlotte a new conjecture. They are both imperfect things, but the AE solution I got is not even as good as the one number 145 got. After all, it has been 1,000 years. No matter how incompetent the Heavenly Jewel Academy is, they should at least be able to improve something that has been powerful for 1,000 years, right? So why don't I have such terrible side effects? Could it be because I am the chosen one of the origin? That I am the reincarnation of the Holy Thunder? That I have more perfect genes? This conjecture could not be confirmed. A new memory fragment appeared in his mind. It was in another metal room. It looked like a medical cabin, with some medical equipment and beds. Number 145 was lying on the bed. His eyes were bleeding, and he looked like he was in pain. Huang Kai and Tang Xing were standing beside the bed, along with Su Ye and Ma Kuan. Su Ye's eyes were filled with tears, and she was in low spirits. Ma Kuan, who was standing beside her, was expressionless. He was not moved by number 145's tragic experience. Tang Xing said, "Su Ye, you have already seen him. Let's go. Number 145, take care. You will definitely get better," Su Ye said, her voice full of sympathy and sadness. In the branded army, those who were not branded warriors only had a number, but no name. However, from Su Ye's reaction, she seemed to be very familiar with this number 145. They should be friends. Huang Kai frowned and scolded, "Su Ye, enough, get out." Su Ye bit her lip, turned around and walked towards the door. Ma Kuan followed Su Ye out, not forgetting to scold her. "Su Ye, what's wrong with you? You have to remember, you are a branded warrior. Why are you crying? You are my girlfriend. How could you have such a bad performance in front of the military officer and the captain? I feel embarrassed for you. You are not allowed to do this in the future, remember?" Su Ye did not bicker with Ma Kuan. She was really not in the mood. In the medical bay, Huang Kai and Tang Xing were talking. What a pity. According to the Academy's historical records, he is the only one with X-ray vision, and he is going to die soon, Huang Kai said gloomily. Tang Xing said, "The eye is a very fragile organ. The success rate of an ability appearing in the eye is very low. Number 145's appearance has given us a revelation. Fragile organs like the brain and eyes may also be the first to mutate, opening a special path of evolution. We have learned something. Number 145's example will bring us a lot of research value." "Then what do we do with his body?" Huang Kai asked. "Take samples of what needs to be taken, then throw them into the pit. No corpses will be left on the Nuwa." "That is the rule," Tang Xing said. "Then I know what to do," Huang Kai said. At that moment, number 145 spoke weakly, save me, I don't want to die, I don't want to die." "Number 145, you are awake," Tang Xing said calmly. "Tell me, can you still see?" "I can barely see, but I can't use X-ray vision anymore. Do you still feel anything? I am in so much pain, so much pain. I can't move, and it feels like all the nerves in my body are broken. Save me. You are already a cripple. You know the rules here. Once you are eliminated, only death awaits you. The Academy will not waste resources to save you, and they will not raise a cripple. Number 145, accept your fate." Tang Xing's voice was emotionless, not to mention sympathy. Tang Xing gave Huang Kai a look, and Huang Kai understood and nodded. Tang Xing turned around and left the medical bay. Huang Kai walked to the bed. "Number 145, you are in a lot of pain now. I can help you end this pain in advance. Do you want to do this?" No. I don't want to die." Number 145 seemed to understand what Huang Kai was trying to do. His voice was filled with fear. Huang Kai sneered. "That won't do. The longer you lie here, the Academy will waste a lot of resources. What right does a cripple like you have to live and waste the resources that only the living can enjoy? Go on your way." "No," Huang Kai grabbed number 145's neck. Unable to struggle, number 145's eyes were soon plunged into darkness. Charlotte withdrew his branding power from number 145's body. The information he dug out from number 145's brain was far more than that. However, that information was not important to him and had no value at all, so he was too lazy to organize and reproduce it. Number 145 was already dead. The dead should be respected, so he would let him keep his personal secrets. Charlotte climbed up the cliff. He looked up at the titanium alloy hull of the Nuwa above him, and a cold smile appeared at the corner of his lips. Nuwa? Mending the sky, or creating humans? It's just an interest group controlled by a group of greedy and inhumane people. Now that I know so many of your secrets, I won't go easy on you. If the Heavenly Jewel Academy was really like what Kong Tu Nana had said before, an upright academy that fought hard to save humanity, he would be condemned by his conscience if he stole from the Heavenly Jewel Academy or did anything that would harm the Academy's interests. But now, he was not going to go easy on them. The titanium alloy plate above his head was a hatch for discarding corpses and trash. It was not impossible to enter, but it would take some time and some tricks. Charlotte hesitated for a moment and gave up. He still had time, and there was no need to invade the Nuwa tonight. Charlotte returned to the karst cave he lived in from the way he came. It took him only half the time to enter. After returning to the karst cave, he checked the smart interference device to make sure that no one had entered his karst cave. Only then did he relax. If there was a flaw in his plan, it would be this karst cave. There was no door to the karst cave, and anyone could enter. If someone came in and paid a little attention, they would realize that the person lying on the bed was just a projection, and then he would be exposed. But he had no other choice but to take this risk. However, he also had a remedy, which was to hypnotize the person who discovered his secret and directly erase that person's memory. For the rest of the night, Charlotte could not sleep. Chapter 1472. Bailing came early the next morning. She had changed the white dress from yesterday into a gray hooded sweater and a pair of tight sports pants. The cotton dress was not very skin-tight, and her plump buttocks and small waist formed an S-shaped curve, mature and attractive. No matter how she dressed, she was so sexy and charming. She was a natural clothes rack. She was holding a large pile of documents in her hands. It seemed that she had sorted out a lot of problems that she wanted Charlotte to solve for her last night. Seeing the documents in her hands, Charlotte couldn't help but make a joke. "Miss Bailing, you can come empty-handed. Why did you bring so many gifts?" Bailing blushed slightly. "Mr. Xia, I know this will take up a lot of your time, but I'll make it up to you," Charlotte said with a smile. "How about you make it up to me?" Bailing thought for a moment. "How about I treat you to dinner?" Charlotte said, "That's a deal. I want to eat your cooking." "Well, no problem." Bailing felt natural after a few words. At this time, Kantu Nana came in and coughed. "Well, I'm not disturbing you, am I?" Bailing said, "Commander Kantu, don't get me wrong. There's nothing between me and Mr. Xia. I just asked him to help me solve some problems. You don't know how difficult it is to meet a super genius like Mr. Xia. You bringing Mr. Xia here is really the luckiest thing that has happened to our academy in the past 1,000 years." Kantu Nana said, "Ms. Bailing, you don't have to explain to me. I'm not related to him." "You're really not lovers?" Last night, Charlotte had told her that he and Kantu Nana were not lovers. However, due to Charlotte's personality and some of Kantu Nana's emotions, she didn't believe Charlotte's words, so she confirmed it with Kantu Nana. "Of course not," Kantu Nana said. For some reason, her tone was a little unnatural. "Ha ha!" Bailing suddenly laughed, looking very happy. "That's good. I was worried that you would misunderstand. Since you are not lovers, then there will be no problem for me to discuss academic issues with Mr. Xia." Kantu Nana's lips moved slightly, as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, she didn't say anything. Charlotte shrugged. "Well, it seems like you won't let me go if I don't help you solve some problems. But this is not a place to work. Ms. Bailing, can you find a more professional place? I need a computer, preferably your office." "My office?" Bailing frowned. "That's the experimental area. You need permission to enter. You don't have that kind of permission, and I don't have the authority to bring you in. How about this? I'll make an application to the council, and he'll definitely agree." Bailing walked to a corner of the cave and took out a communicator to contact Roland. Charlotte thought to himself, experimental area? It must be inside that spaceship. Will Roland allow me to go in? If he doesn't allow me to go in, I'll have to find a way to climb out of that pit of corpses. While thinking about this, Charlotte's ears had already locked onto Bailing. Even the conversation through the communicator could not escape his ears. He heard the conversation between Bailing and Roland. Dean, I'll apply for permission to bring Mr. Xia into the laboratory. Please approve it. Bring Charlotte into the laboratory? No, that's too risky. We haven't figured out his background yet. Roland's voice sounded. Dean. Bailing was a little anxious. Mr. Xia is the only super genius that our academy has encountered in the past 1,000 years. He can help us solve many problems, including that one. You know what I'm talking about. The communicator was silent for a while before Roland's voice sounded. Tang Xing has already told me about this, and I'm also looking forward to him solving that problem. However, it's just solving a problem. He can do it anywhere. Why must he enter the laboratory? Let him solve the problem outside, and we'll provide him with whatever he needs. Bailing sighed in disappointment. All right, I'll try. You have to convince him. Roland's voice sounded. Bailing ended the call with Roland and returned to Charlotte and Kantu Nana's side. She shrugged awkwardly. We researchers have no right. I applied, but I was rejected. Mr. Xia, I'm really sorry. Please choose another place. Charlotte smiled. It's all right, I'll choose another place. How about your house? I saw that you have a computer there. No problem. Bailing heaved a sigh of relief. She was afraid that Roland's rejection would make Charlotte unhappy, and Charlotte would not help her solve the problem. She did not expect Charlotte to not mind at all. Charlotte was not surprised by Roland's rejection. The Nuwa spaceship was one of the Heavenly Jewel Academy's top secret. How could a person like him, who had just arrived for a day, enter it so casually? There was a ready-made example right beside him, and that was Kantu Nana. Kantu Nana had long-term access to the Heavenly Jewel Academy, but she did not remember the Nuwa spaceship in her mind. It was obvious that Kantu Nana had never entered the spaceship. It seemed like he had to think of another way to get in. Why do we have to go to Teacher Bailing's house? Kantu Nana suddenly asked. Isn't it better to go to the library? Charlotte said, there are too many people in the library. It will affect my solving. Kantu Nana glanced at Charlotte with a disdainful look. You have other intentions, don't you? Charlotte was speechless. Although Kantu Nana's voice was soft, Bailing still heard it. She said, Commander Kantu, you've misunderstood. Mr. Xia and I are just solving the problem. There's nothing else. Kantu Nana said, I believe you, but it's useless. What will your boyfriend, Tang Xing, think? Hearing the name Tang Xing, Bailing's brow furrowed and her mood dropped. Kantu Nana seemed to sense something, and she said tentatively, Bailing, tell me, is there something wrong with you and Tang Xing? Bailing bit her cherry lips, wanting to say something but hesitating. Kantu Nana said, Don't worry, I'll keep it a secret. She then kicked Charlotte's foot. Charlotte also said, Yes, I'll keep it a secret too. Bailing sighed. I haven't dated any men before I graduated, and I have no experience in love. After I graduated, because of my excellent grades, I entered the laboratory and was in charge of research in the field of energy conversion. At that time, Tang Xing appeared, and he took good care of me. He was gentle and considerate, and he was not bad-looking. So, I dated him. However, as I dated him for a long time, I realized that he was a very possessive man. As long as another man talked to me, or behaved intimately with me, that man would be in trouble. Over time, the men in this college stayed away from me, and they didn't even dare to talk to me. Some time ago, I proposed to break up with him, but he didn't agree. He even threatened me, saying that if I dared to leave him, he would. He would what? Bailing bit her cherry lips again. He would kill me, and the people who are good to me, my teachers and my friends. This. Contanana was surprised. That's impossible. Tang Xing is such a gentle and elegant man. How could he say something like that? He must love you too much to say that, but I don't believe that he would do that. Beiling's voice was faint. How much do you know about him? Forget it, let's not talk about this. I don't want to think about anything now. I just want to work, and I want to devote all my energy to work. How far have you developed your relationship? Beiling blushed. What do you mean? We're all women. You know what I'm asking. Contanana glanced at Charlotte. Cover your ears. Boring. Charlotte got up and walked to the bathroom. Say whatever you want. I don't want to listen. Charlotte entered the bathroom, but his ear was pressed against the back of the door. He was also very curious about how far Beiling and Tang Xing had developed their relationship. How could he not listen? Beiling looked back at the closed door of the bathroom, and then whispered, Commander Kantu, why are you asking me such a question? I'm so embarrassed. What's wrong with that? I'm the one who brought Charlotte here. For that sake, can you tell me a little? I'll keep it a secret. Contanana's voice was heard. Sometimes, a woman's spirit of gossip was as strong as the spirit of the Revolutionary Army, and the commander was no exception. Beiling was silent for a moment before saying, I'm a very traditional woman. My first time will only be on the night of my wedding. I've been dating him for about 2 years, and we've only held hands 3 times. We haven't kissed, and we haven't slept together. Contanana was dumbfounded. You've only held hands 3 times in 2 years of dating. Can he hold it in? Humph, with his power and status in the academy, how many women have slept with him? Don't think that I don't know. I've seen female students come out of his room several times, but I pretended not to see them. Later, I realized that he didn't actually love me. He's the kind of person who wouldn't love anyone. He just wants to possess me, and the reason he wants to possess me is because I'm the so-called prettiest girl in the academy. Beiling's face was full of bitterness. Contanana sighed. I really didn't expect him to be such a person. She suddenly felt that the vulgar and crude Xia Kiki wasn't so annoying. Although he was lecherous, it was only on the surface. He was unbearably rude, but he wouldn't hurt anyone good. The sound of water flowing came from the bathroom, and the strange sound caused the 2 women's thoughts to shift from one man to the other. Beiling's face turned red again. She was especially sensitive, and she was always shy. Contanana's reaction was completely different from Beiling's. She looked in the direction of the bathroom. Mr. Xia, can't you lower your voice? There are 2 ladies in your room. Charlotte's voice came out. Commander Kantu, why don't you help me hold it a little? That way I can lower my voice a little. Beiling, go to hell. Contanana's voice came out. When Charlotte came out of the bathroom, he saw someone he didn't want to see. It was Huang Kai. Mr. Xia, the dean asked me to prepare a place for you to work. Huang Kai wasn't polite at all. In the library, I asked someone to prepare a room for you, and I've specially installed a computer you need. Come with me now, I'll take you to have a look. The library? There are so many people there, it will affect me. Charlotte said. Beiling added, Mr. Xia has already told me that he's going to work at my house. Huang Kai said, How can that be? The dean and the military officer won't agree. Mr. Xia, I don't think you want to cause any misunderstanding, do you? Charlotte smiled. Well, the library is the library. Take me to have a look. Chapter 1473. As expected, Huang Kai ordered someone to clean up a room. It was an unused office on the 3rd floor of the library. The students had cleaned it up and brought in a computer, as well as a considerable amount of office supplies, such as pen and paper. Mr. Xia, this is your office. I hope you can solve that problem as soon as possible. Huang Kai said, You know, that problem is very important to the entire human race. Charlotte smiled and said indifferently, You make it sound like I can definitely solve it. Huang Kai furrowed his brow. Mr. Xia, what do you mean? I didn't ask you to solve it. I know there might be some conflicts between us, but for the sake of the future of humanity, I believe you will make the right choice. I'll try my best. Alright, you can go now. I don't like to be disturbed when I'm working, Charlotte said. Huang Kai snorted coldly, his gaze landing on Kong Tu Nana. Commander Kong Tu, I have something to show you. Come with me, don't disturb Mr. Xia. Kong Tu Nana did not move. What is it? Can't I read it here? Huang Kai said, It's not convenient for me to show you here. Kong Tu Nana said, Then I won't read it. You. Huang Kai was furious. He had not expected Kong Tu Nana to reject him so directly, not giving him any face at all. In the Heavenly Jewel Academy, how many people dared to not give him face? In the Branded Legion, there were only 5 captains out of 100 branded warriors, and he was destined to take over Tang Xing's position. The military officers of the Heavenly Jewel Academy were actually the Legion commanders. Kong Tu Nana did not seem to have any intention of making amends, and her tone was merciless. Leader Huang, I think there must be some misunderstanding between us. If it's not convenient for me to read it here, I really don't want to read it. Please forgive me. Bai Ling's story had changed her view of some people, including Huang Kai. Alright, since that's the case, pretend I didn't say anything. Huang Kai turned and left. After Huang Kai left, Kong Tu Nana said, Arrogant fellow, don't think I don't know what he's thinking. Bai Ling smiled and said, He wants to pursue you, but he has forgotten that you are the commander-in-chief of the resistance army. Not just any man can catch your eye. Charlotte did not participate in the conversation between the two women. He turned on the computer provided by the academy. In the end, he discovered that this computer was not connected to the academy's network at all. He could only use this computer to calculate or draw, and there was no way he could use it to enter the academy's internal network to steal any confidential information. At this moment, there was a sudden commotion in the library. Some people were laughing, while others were whistling. This was not the kind of noise that should happen in a place like a library. What happened? Kong Tu Nana asked curiously. Bai Ling shook her head. I don't know. It's strange. Let's go and take a look. The two women walked toward the door at the same time. Charlotte also got up from his desk and went to the guardrail of the corridor outside the door. Outside the door was a corridor. Standing by the guardrail, one could overlook the entire interior of the library. At this time, the railings of the second and third floors were full of people, and the hall on the ground floor was also full of people. In the middle of the hall, a holographic projection was playing. It was a surveillance video of Charlotte bathing. He was scrubbing Xiaolei, muttering to himself that he wanted to eat Kong Tu Nana's meat. His actions were wretched, and so was his expression. Wow, it's so big. So white. I've never seen a guy like this. It's like he's carved out of jade. Isn't that the visitor? Why is he so perverted? Yeah, what's wrong with the academy? Why is anyone allowed in? Disgusting, perverted. Isn't Kong Tu Nana the commander-in-chief of the resistance army? She's one of the women I admire the most. Why would she be a guarantor for such a person? Yeah, I really don't understand. Even I feel bad for her. She's probably been deceived. In this world, there are many bad people, but there are even more liars. I wonder how Kong Tu Nana will feel after seeing this video. She'll definitely be embarrassed, right? Hey, look at the third floor. The male lead. Haha, that's the guy. Oh my god, he still has the cheek to watch. Kong Tu Nana is here too. Wow, there's also our academy's teacher, Hua Bailing. Why are the two goddesses by that pervert side? We should chase that guy out of the academy. His presence here is a disgrace to our academy's reputation. Realizing that the male lead was here, the noisy scene immediately escalated. Many boys jeered, and some even scolded Charlotte. At this moment, Charlotte was no longer the hero who had killed Royce, nor was he a super genius. He had become a perverted pervert, just like a rat crossing the street. But facing the mockery, insults, and jeers, Charlotte wasn't angry at all. Not only was he angry, he even had a faint smile on his face, as if he was enjoying the feeling of being the main character. The two girls standing beside him, Contanana and Bailing, had a different feeling. When the two girls saw Charlotte rubbing his leg, they were first surprised, then blushed. After hearing what he said to himself, the two girls, especially Contanana, were so embarrassed that they wanted to find a hole to hide in. When the academy's students found out that they were with Charlotte and jeered, the two girls' gazes converged on Charlotte's face at the same time. They thought that Xia Lei's face would turn red, and he would be too ashamed to show his face, but all they saw was a smile that was at ease. They didn't feel good at all. As bystanders, they all felt ashamed, but he actually seemed to be enjoying it. A pervert is a pervert. You. Contanana stared at Charlotte with a murderous look. You can still laugh. Aren't you going to explain yourself? Charlotte laughed. Explain what? Which one of us wasn't born naked into this world? What's there to hide? Besides, I'm taking a bath. Do I have to take a bath with my clothes on? What you said. Contanana reminded him fiercely. Charlotte laughed. I really thought so. It's normal for men to have some fantasies when they're taking a bath. If I knew that someone had installed a camera in my bathroom, I definitely wouldn't have said that. Huang Kai is really something. It's bad enough that he secretly filmed a man taking a bath, but he actually played it in the library. He must be crazy. By the way, I think this is what he wanted to give you. You didn't go with him, so he played it in the library. Contanana was stunned for a moment. Charlotte's words suddenly made her understand. Charlotte was taking a bath normally. It wasn't too much to talk nonsense while taking a bath. At most, he had improper thoughts about her. He was a pervert, so wasn't that a normal thing for a pervert? The one who really went too far was Huang Kai. He installed a camera in Charlotte's bathroom. Not only did he secretly film Charlotte taking a bath, but he also played the video in a place like the library. This was what a villain would do. Mr. Xia, don't be angry. I'll go to the dean now and ask him to investigate this matter. I'll ask him to give you an explanation. Bailing didn't really hate the content of the surveillance video. It was just that she felt embarrassed when she first saw it. After Charlotte's explanation, she was worried that Charlotte would be angry and leave. If that happened, she wouldn't be able to solve the problems that had been bothering her. Bailing left as soon as she said that, and Charlotte didn't stop her. His eyes moved to the crowd and soon found Huang Kai. Huang Kai was also looking up at Charlotte. His face was full of a gloating smile. Charlotte also smiled at Huang Kai, then gave him a thumbs up and said in a voice that only he could hear, "If I dare to let you film it, I don't care if you play it. But if you play it, then you're dead. I've already figured out the situation. Let's make our move tonight. You will be my first target. You're dead." When he first came to the Heavenly Jewel Academy, he didn't know the situation here, and he had a certain degree of fear towards the branded warriors. After this series of events, as well as the situation inside the academy, he no longer had the fear he had when he first came here. This was because he had figured out the strength of these so-called branded warriors, as well as the situation inside the academy. There were no restrictions here, and he could fight in his strongest state. The branded warriors of the Heavenly Jewel Academy were indeed very strong, but that depended on the opponent. For ordinary Blue Moon people and Blackbeard, the branded warrior was indeed a very powerful existence. After all, they were super warriors who had been injected with the AE serum. They had powerful abilities that ordinary people could not have. However, the opponent they were going to face this time was Xia Lei, a super strong man who had evolved to near perfection, since he already knew the strength of the branded army, and he had figured out the secret of the Heavenly Jewel Academy. What was he waiting for? Tonight. Kill him until he's in a complete mess. He would get rid of the few key figures who controlled the Heavenly Jewel Academy, the Black Sheep, and turn the Heavenly Jewel Academy into the true mainstay of humanity's struggle. Their eyes met. How could Huang Kai know what Charlotte was thinking? Charlotte gave him a thumbs up, and a disdainful smile appeared on Huang Kai's face. He then gave Charlotte the middle finger. Charlotte did not care about Huang Kai's provocation. He turned and walked away from the guardrail, heading towards his office. Kong Tu Nana followed him. You still have the mood to solve problems? Of course. Charlotte smiled and said, one thing is another. The problems that Teacher Bai Ling gave me are problems that have troubled the Academy's academic world. They are related to the development of human technology. If I can solve them, why shouldn't I? Do you think I care about that despicable Huang Kai insulting me? I have a big heart and I don't care about it at all. Kong Tu Nana's eyes flashed with a strange light, and the corners of her mouth curled into a smile. You're such a strange person. You could be an unparalleled hero, but why do you act like a pervert and a pervert? Charlotte turned back to look at her voluptuous breasts, a mischievous smile on his face. You haven't slept with me before. How do you know I'm a pervert? Why don't we sleep for a while, and you can confirm whether I'm a pervert or not. I'm very powerful. Go to hell. Kong Tu Nana turned and walked away. She had originally had a good impression of him, but in the blink of an eye, he had personally destroyed that good impression. Charlotte gave a bitter smile. If I don't ruin my image, you will fall in love with me. I can't resist the temptation to sleep with you, and if I do, I will have to break up with you in the future. At that time, I will have to hurt you. I'm sorry. The office quietened down. Charlotte sat in front of his desk, solving problems while planning his actions for the night. In his mind, the scenes he had seen, the places he had been, and all the brainwaves that he had obtained with the power of branding appeared in his mind. Then, his brain automatically deduced all the information he had obtained and came up with a detailed action plan. At night, the devil would awaken. Chapter 1474. In the interior of the volcano, there was no difference between day and night. The reason why there was day and night was merely a biological signal released by the human body clock to indicate that they needed to sleep. Huang Kai did not sleep. He had just finished working on a female student and had vented to his heart's content. The female student was lying beside him. Her body was full of bruises from being slapped and pinched, and there were still traces of tears at the corner of her eyes. She closed her legs tightly, trying her best to cover the place that had been violated. She did not want to arouse Huang Kai's bestial desire again, pouncing on her and venting again. To her, that feeling was no better than death. What are you still lying there for? Go back. Huang Kai got up from the bed, not even bothering to look at the female student. Go back and take a shower, then have a good sleep. Remember, don't tell anyone about what happened tonight, or else you'll be fed to the fishes. The female student's body suddenly shivered. She nodded, then got up, hastily put on her clothes, and left Huang Kai's residence. Huang Kai poured himself a glass of red wine. As he savored the red wine, he recalled the process of venting just now. He did not know why, but he could not help but compare Kong Tu Nana with the girl he had just f***ed. Their noses were not noses, and their eyes were not eyes. Kong Tu Nana was tall, sexy, and had the unique valiant temperament of a soldier. This was not something a female student could have. Conquering a woman like Kong Tu Nana, just the sense of accomplishment of conquering her was enough to excite a man, let alone f***ing her on the ground. It was this comparison that made the pleasure from before disappear, replaced by resentment and anger. Huang Kai drank the glass of red wine fiercely, then spat, "Damn it, bitch! I will soon become a military officer of the Branded Legion. At that time, even if you take off your pants and let me f*ck you, I won't f*ck you. And that brat, when he solves that problem, I will kill him. I will cut him into pieces and feed them to the fishes one by one. Yo, how much hatred does it take for you to say something like that? A man's voice suddenly came from the fork in the tunnel. Huang Kai was startled by the sudden noise, but he reacted quickly. He raised his hand and smashed the wine glass in his hand at the entrance of the fork in the tunnel. At the same time, he flew towards the pile of clothes. This quick reaction was only because he was very familiar with the voice. It was Charlotte's voice. Whoosh! Before Huang Kai could reach the pile of clothes to grab the weapon, Yisho suddenly flew out from the tunnel and hit the back of Huang Kai's head. Bang! There was a dull thud and a puddle of blood. Huang Kai's body instantly lost the strength to charge forward, and he fell to the ground with a boom. However, this stone attack that smashed open a person's head did not affect his fighting strength. After falling to the ground, his hands gently pushed against the ground, and his body left the ground and stood on the ground again. Charlotte walked out of the tunnel and faced Huang Kai. His face was expressionless and very calm, but this calmness was filled with disdain and indifference. Huang Kai glared at Charlotte. "Damn it, why did you come to my house? What do you want?" Charlotte said passively, "I came to have a chat with you." "Talk to me? Are you King sick?" Huang Kai reached out to touch the back of his head, and as he did so, blood came out and he exploded in anger. "Bleeding? Bastard! How dare you hit me? Do you believe that I won't kill you?" Charlotte smiled and said, "I do, but do you believe that I won't kill you?" "Kill me? Humph! Ha ha!" Huang Kai laughed in anger. "If this was outside, I believe that you would have the gut. However, this is the Heavenly Jewel Academy, my territory. Here, only I can kill you, and you can't kill me. Is that so?" Charlotte took a step towards Huang Kai. Huang Kai did not retreat. Instead, he sneered, "There's a surveillance camera in this room that I installed myself. Everything you said just now was recorded. Just based on that stone you threw at me, and your words about killing me, I can kill you." "Then what are you waiting for?" Charlotte said. "Kneel down and apologize to me. Kowtow 3 times and I will spare you. What happened tonight will not be leaked." Huang Kai said, not afraid at all. Charlotte said, "You are waiting for me to solve that problem, right? After that, you can get rid of the side effects of the AE solution. You, Tang Xing and Roland are all waiting for me to solve the problem, right? Before I solve the problem, you will not kill me, right? But once I solve that problem, you won't hesitate to get rid of me, right?" Huang Kai looked at Charlotte coldly. "You are right, so what? Your biggest mistake was coming here. Even if you don't understand the problem, you still have to solve it. Why bring so much trouble for yourself? If you solve that problem, maybe I'll let you go if I'm happy. Kneel down, kowtow 3 times to appease the anger in my heart." Just as his voice fell, Charlotte suddenly punched towards Huang Kai's lower abdomen. Huang Kai was shocked. He couldn't believe that Charlotte still dared to attack him after he explained that there were surveillance cameras in his residence. He hurriedly dodged, but his speed was simply not as fast as Charlotte's. When he saw the fist, he also flew up. Boom! Huang Kai's body was like a stone thrown out by a catapult. With a whoosh, he flew towards a rock wall, fiercely hit a table, and then fell on his bed. A slight crack appeared on the rock that he had crashed into. Pooh! Huang Kai opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. He was shocked and angry, and a trace of fear quickly spread through his body. When Charlotte appeared, he actually didn't panic or fear, because he thought that Charlotte had snuck in to settle the debt in the library, and he was certain that he would eat him up. However, he didn't expect that Charlotte would attack without any hesitation, nor did he hold back. This was what made him afraid. Charlotte's punch made him understand the difference between him and Charlotte. Huang Kai's ability was at most twice as strong as Ma Kuan's, but Ma Kuan was like an ant in front of Charlotte. Charlotte walked towards Huang Kai. His eyes were terrifyingly cold. Huang Kai suddenly extended his hand and grabbed his clothes. There was an energy pistol hidden in his clothes. At this time, he couldn't care less about the problem. He was already mad with anger. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to kill Charlotte. Charlotte didn't stop him, at least he didn't rush forward. He walked towards Huang Kai. His pace was still as calm as ever. He only took one step, but before he could take a second step, Huang Kai had already grabbed the energy pistol. "Go to hell!" Huang Kai roared, waving his hand to aim the gun at Charlotte. Aim and shoot solved the problem. That was what Huang Kai was thinking, but just as he was waving his hand, he suddenly realized that his entire right arm couldn't move. There seemed to be something wrong with his brain. It felt like he was paralyzed from a stroke. Charlotte's pace was still as calm, it even looked a little elegant. Huang Kai struggled with all his might, using his left hand to grab the energy pistol in his right hand. In an instant, Huang Kai's left hand couldn't move either. Just now, half of his body was paralyzed, but in the blink of an eye, his entire body was paralyzed. Fear spread through his body like a tide. His fighting spirit, his courage, his anger, everything he had collapsed in front of that fear, vanishing without a trace. "Didn't you want to kill me?" Charlotte smiled and said, "Why didn't you shoot? You. What did you do to me?" Huang Kai's voice was trembling. Charlotte said, "I only did what I was supposed to do." Who are you?" "I am your grandfather," Charlotte said. This was a curse, but Huang Kai didn't even dare to say a word back. Charlotte said lightly, "I am about to enter your brain and dig out all your secrets then. How do you want to die?" Be ****. I am telling you, everything you are doing is being recorded by the surveillance camera. You can't escape even if you kill me. Let me go, I will pretend nothing happened." Huang Kai still had a glimmer of hope that Charlotte wouldn't dare kill him here. Charlotte said, "I know where your surveillance camera is, but it is independent. You pervert, you often play with the girls in the college. They are human elites selected from all over the world. They came with the hope of saving humanity and rebuilding human civilization, but they are humiliated by scum like you. Not only do you humiliate them, you also secretly take videos of you sleeping with them, and then use the videos to threaten them, making them submit to your despotic power. Do you think I would be worried about such a surveillance camera?" With that, Charlotte punched the wooden headboard. With a bang, the wooden board shattered, and the surveillance camera inside the wooden headboard was smashed by Charlotte's fist. Where was the surveillance camera? How could it be hidden from Charlotte, who had the ability to see through things? During the day, Charlotte was in the library, planning his night's operation. He searched the brains of the students and scholars who entered the library for information, and then he found that the brains of several girls had memories of being humiliated by Huang Kai. Those memories contained the location of Huang Kai's home and some of the situation at home. This was also the reason why he was able to enter Huang Kai's home from the fork in the tunnel. Before he was prepared to make a move, he already knew everything here like the back of his hand. "I don't care who you are, you better calm down." Huang Kai's breathing had already become rapid. "I am the captain of the Branded Legion. No, I will soon become a military officer of the Branded Legion. If you kill me, you will become the enemy of the entire Branded Legion. Have you thought of the consequences? All right, I will use a woman's method to kill you. Take it as justice for those girls who have been humiliated by you." Charlotte grabbed a pillow. You calm down." Before Huang Kai could finish his words, a pillow was pressed against his face. He wanted to struggle, but his brain was unable to control any of the muscles in his body. He wanted to breathe, but there was no air entering his mouth or nose. The feeling of suffocation made his lungs feel uncomfortable, as if they were on fire. His brain was lacking oxygen, and his consciousness became more and more muddled in fear. Finally, he entered a world of darkness, a cold and eternal darkness. He was one of the 5 captains of the Branded Legion, and also the designated successor of Tang Xing. What a glorious person, what a bright future, but now he was like a dying paralyzed patient, being smothered to death by a pillow by Charlotte. Charlotte took the pillow away from Huang Kai's head, then turned around and left, entering the tunnel again. He did not deal with the murder scene, because he felt that there was no need to. Moreover, killing Huang Kai was only the first step of his entire plan. Chapter 1475. The titanium alloy hatch above his head slowly opened, and light shone out from the hatch. A man stood behind the hatch, staring at the corpse pit below the hatch with a dull look in his eyes. He was the person responsible for throwing the corpses, but this time, he did not throw any corpses. He just opened the hatch and waited for something. A rope suddenly flew up from below, and a rope hook at the end of the rope hooked onto the floor of the spaceship. A man grabbed the rope and climbed up. He was very fast. The person who opened the hatch just watched without the slightest reaction. When the man climbed into the spaceship, he closed the hatch. "Go back and sleep," Charlotte said to the person who opened the hatch for him. His voice was low, hoarse, and full of magic. The person who opened the hatch turned and left, walking forward at a moderate pace. This was the second time he had met Charlotte. The first time was in the afternoon when he went to the library to borrow books. However, whether it was the first time or this time, he had no impression of it at all. When he woke up, he would not remember anything. To enter the interior of the spaceship, it was actually that simple for Charlotte. All he needed to do was deep hypnosis and open the hatch inside the spaceship for him to throw the corpses. Charlotte took out a bottle of blue drink from his pocket, unscrewed the cap, and gulped it down. The blue drink in the bottle was the Archimedes Princess Blue Milk that Lanji had squeezed for him. It was the most magical milk he had ever drunk. After drinking a bottle of Archimedes Princess Blue Milk, the imprint of the universe hidden in the depths of his soul trembled excitedly. The power of the imprint swarmed toward his stomach, fighting for the mysterious energy that gave birth to life. Under the chemical reaction of the power of the brand and the Archimedes Princess Blue Milk, he once again entered that godlike state. "It feels so good. I really want to leave here and drink the milk that Lanji squeezed for me every day." Charlotte craved Lanji's milk. That kind of craving was like an ordinary man's craving for power. After drinking a bottle of Archimedes Princess Blue Milk, Charlotte entered an aisle and walked straight forward. As he walked, he released the extremely active power of the brand from his body, and it quickly spread throughout the spaceship. Wherever he went, the information of the spaceship and the brainwaves of the crew flooded into his brain. Everything was under his control. Not long after, the universe imprint suddenly trembled. The trembling was very intense. At that moment, a very strange feeling appeared in his consciousness. He was very familiar with this feeling. It was the feeling of the universe brand establishing a connection with the crystal hand bone. There was indeed a wreckage similar to a crystal skull and a crystal arm on this spaceship. Up until now, Charlotte had not managed to steal any information about the crystal fragment from any brains, including Huang Kai's. However, this was not surprising. Because he had just arrived and was not familiar with the situation here, he did not enter Tang Xing's and Roland's brains to steal information. With Tang Xing and Roland's status, they should know about the crystal remains. Charlotte quickly confirmed the location, then changed direction and entered another aisle. 2 female crew members walked over from the other end of the aisle, chatting as they walked. "Were you in the library this morning?" "No, I know what you want to say. I regret it so much. Tell me, does his thing really look like it's carved out of jade?" "What do you mean, it is?" Let me tell you, that kid's thing is white and clean, it even feels a little transparent. Wow, I can't help but imagine the feeling of putting that magical thing in there. Hee hee. Stop talking, I'm getting wet. So fast? You're really useless. But it's a pity, that kid must have offended Huang Kai. That surveillance video was released by Huang Kai. I guess it won't be long before he gets killed by Huang Kai. The two women chatted and brushed past Charlotte. However, they did not have any reaction. To them, Charlotte was like a mass of air, invisible. This was a new ability he discovered in the library during the day when his brain was deducing actions and making plans. This ability was also obtained after his universe imprint appeared. It was just that he did not realize it before. At that time, his brain was thinking about how to avoid the dense surveillance cameras inside the spaceship, as well as the eyes of the numerous crew members. On Earth, the method he used the most was the human skin mask, but in this world, he did not have the suitable materials to make a human skin mask. The main basic material was one of them. Without the materials, he could not make a human skin mask that could allow him to change his face, so he had to think of another way. With this thought, his brain automatically deduced according to his ability. At the beginning of the deduction, no matter how much he deduced, it ended in failure. In the end, his brain also included his universe imprint in the deduction. As a result of this deduction, his brain used the universe imprint's absolute control over the imprint's energy to condense an energy soft shell on his skin. This energy soft shell not only isolated most of the refraction of light, but it could also absorb the remaining light, thus achieving an effect of invisibility under strong light. The discovery of this new ability surprised him, and made him even more excited. At that time, he did an experiment, using the universe imprint to control the imprint's energy to form an energy soft shell on his body, then strolled around the library. He patted the shoulders of a few girls, who turned around to look, but could not see him. This kind of prank proved the reliability of this invisibility ability. It was also one of the reasons why he dared to enter the spaceship without even changing his clothes. Whether it was the human eye or the surveillance camera, the principle of being able to capture and see things was the refraction of light. If an object did not refract light, it would not be visible, it would be invisible. The birth of this new ability, its degree of awesomeness, was not any less than the original X-ray ability. Isatabu and Kasha Ruiz also had this ability, but that was because they did not have a real body. Now that Charlotte could achieve invisibility under the circumstances of having a body, it once again proved that his path of evolution was more natural, healthier, and more in line with the rules of the universe's evolution. The two women gradually walked away. Their conversation made Charlotte very speechless. A trace of a bitter smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Casually talking about me, didn't you think about my feelings? At the end of the tunnel was an elevator. Walking to the door of the elevator, Charlotte frowned. He saw the scanning device and the device that required a password. Other than using violence, he had no way of opening the door of the elevator. Just as he was looking for another way, footsteps and voices came from the tunnel that he came from. Charlotte turned around and saw Suya and Ma Kuan. I have already said it very clearly, no means no. Suya's emotions were a little out of control. Why not? Ma Kuan looked very angry. We have been dating for more than half a year, other lovers would have already moved in together, but you have not done it with me even once. I am a man, have you ever thought about my feelings? How you feel is your problem, it has nothing to do with me. I am not a tool for you to vent your lust. If you want to vent, go find another woman. What do you mean? I am not your girlfriend. I have always seen you as a brother, don't you understand? Ah. Ma Kuan was so angry that he laughed. After all this time, you see me as a brother. F*ck, when you first joined the branded army and needed my help, why didn't you say I was a brother? You used me, and now that you are done, you want to get rid of me? If you want to think that way, there is nothing I can do. I have already said it very clearly today, we are not lovers, don't tell others that I am your woman. I am not, and I will never be. Suya's emotions were getting more and more agitated. Slap. Ma Kuan waved his hand and slapped Suya's cheek. Although it was his left hand, Suya was still unable to dodge it. Her cheek suddenly swelled up, and there was a greenish-red palm print on her delicate cheek. You! Suya covered her cheek, her eyes filled with tears of humiliation. F***ck. B***tch. Ma Kuan used his finger to point at Suya's nose. His expression was ferocious and he said fiercely, I will give you one last chance. I will go back to my cabin and wait for you. Wash up and come over to F***ck me. Otherwise, a new round of elimination is about to begin. You know your own strength very well. Without my help, you will not be able to stay in the Branded Legion. You have finally revealed your true colors. Ma Kuan, let me tell you, even if I cannot stay in the Branded Legion, and am demoted to the Student Armed Forces, I will not lower myself to the point of sleeping with you. Suya said angrily. Ma Kuan laughed coldly. Don't worry, I will not let you leave the Branded Legion alive. You know very well how you entered the Branded Legion in the first place. I was the one who got rid of your only competitor. I was able to kill that pitiful fellow, and I can do the same to you. Just you wait, you will regret it. The two of them quarreled until they reached the entrance of the elevator. Suya stopped in her tracks, looking helpless. Charlotte saw anger and fear in her eyes, as well as a deep sadness. I will go up and wait for you now. There is only one chance. How you choose is up to you. Ma Kuan stood at the entrance of the elevator, entered the password, and accepted the scan. The elevator door opened and he walked in. Suya did not move. She stood there like a wooden pillar. Charlotte hesitated for a second, and then stepped into the elevator the moment the elevator door opened. The movement of the elevator door covered up the sound of his movement. However, Ma Kuan was a branded warrior. No matter how weak he was, he would still be able to react to this sudden, soft noise. He cautiously looked at the blind spots on both sides of his body, and then looked behind him. He did not see anything, so he let his guard down. Charlotte was actually not behind him, but in front of him. A person's eyes were the best at deceiving others. Ma Kuan did not even consider what was in front of him, and his first reaction was to look where his eyes could not see. Motherf ****, that B****tch actually dared to use me. Alright, even if she comes to F***ck me tonight, I will still kill her in the elimination round. Ma Kuan muttered to himself. His voice was filled with malice. Charlotte looked at him, and the image of Suya's tearful eyes appeared in his mind. His lips curled into a cold smile, and he secretly said in his heart, Ma Kuan, you won't have that day anymore. The elevator stopped and the door opened. Charlotte walked out of the elevator before Ma Kuan did. Ma Kuan also walked out of the elevator, and then into the corridor. Not long after, he stopped in front of a cabin door. The cabin door scanned him again, and then automatically opened. Ma Kuan entered the cabin door, but he did not notice that a shadow had followed him into the cabin that he was staying in. Chapter 1476. Plans could never keep up with changes. In Charlotte's plan, Tang Sheng and Roland were the people he wanted to kill tonight. He wanted to liberate the Heavenly Jewel Academy, and bring it back to the right track of reviving the human race. However, Ma Kuan was not on his death list tonight. Perhaps he would kill Ma Kuan, but not tonight. It would be at some other time in the future. However, when he saw Ma Kuan bullying Suya in the corridor, that scoundrel face had angered him. As such, he added Ma Kuan's name to the list at the last minute. What was this called? To Charlotte, it was just something he did in passing. To Ma Kuan there was a path to heaven, but he did not take it. Instead, he came to hell. Ma Kuan's cabin was not big, about 5 square meters. There was a small bed, a table, and a private bathroom. The small bathroom was installed with a shower head, and he could take a shower. After entering the cabin, Ma Kuan took off his jacket and entered the small bathroom. She will come. That cowardly woman is afraid of death. I will take a shower first, and when she comes, I will *ck her to death. I will *ck her back for the past half a year. Ma Kuan said fiercely in the bathroom. He then took off his underwear and reached out to switch on the shower head. At that moment, a hand suddenly appeared on his neck. Who? Ma Kuan was shocked. He quickly turned around, and at the same time, his left elbow made a backward movement. However, before his left elbow could hit the person behind him, the person grabbed his left elbow and twisted his left hand behind his back. In that split second, he saw a familiar face. It was Charlotte's face. You. How did you get in? Ma Kuan asked in panic. What are you trying to do? Charlotte smiled at Ma Kuan, but did not say anything. Suddenly, he kicked Ma Kuan's leg. This kick, let alone Ma Kuan's leg, could even bend a steel pipe. Ma Kuan knelt on the ground with a thud. He wanted to call for help, but just as he opened his mouth, the hand on his neck suddenly pressed down like a mountain. Not only did it cut off his voice, but it also cut off his breathing. Voila! Charlotte forcefully pushed Ma Kuan's head into the toilet bowl. The water in the toilet bowl was yellow and smelly. Ma Kuan seemed to have forgotten to flush his toilet bowl, and now he was personally tasting his own excrement. Gulp, gulp. Ma Kuan finally finished the yellow liquid in the toilet bowl. Just as he was about to greedily take a breath of fresh air, the water in the water tank suddenly rushed out and covered his entire head. He tried to struggle, but he found that he couldn't move his body at all. Fear and despair occupied every nerve in his body, but soon, he couldn't even feel fear and despair anymore. Charlotte let go of his hand, but Ma Kuan was still kneeling on the ground. His head was submerged in the water. Huang Kai died under a pillow, and Ma Kuan died in the toilet bowl. The wicked will be tormented by the wicked. Towards evil people like Huang Kai and Ma Kuan, Charlotte never had a shred of mercy, nor would he be soft-hearted. After dealing with Ma Kuan, Charlotte didn't stay in Ma Kuan's cabin. He left the cabin door and continued to walk in the direction where he sensed the crystal wreckage. Finally, he arrived at a huge round cabin door. Standing in front of this huge round cabin door, the reaction of the universe imprint was even more intense. And it wasn't just one reaction, but 3. This discovery made Charlotte unable to suppress the excitement in his heart, because he knew very well what it meant. It meant that there were 3 crystal wreckage behind this round cabin door. Charlotte activated his X-ray vision and tried to see through the round cabin door in front of him. However, he once again tasted the taste of failure. This round cabin door was too thick, and it was made of space-grade titanium alloy that could fly at the speed of light. His vision could enter the cabin door, but he couldn't see through it. However, this didn't affect Charlotte's understanding of the situation behind the cabin door. He then placed his palm on the round cabin door. The universe imprint trembled slightly, and the power of the imprint entered the cabin door without any resistance, then spread out from the cabin door into the interior space. Wherever the power of the imprint passed through, there was a confident feedback. His brain simulated a holographic projection based on the information. This projection was in his brain, and it was extremely clear. It was a hemispherical space, about 100 square meters. In the center of the space was a transparent crystal coffin. In the crystal coffin was a crystal wreckage, a torso and a pair of legs. The legs and torso were separated, so it was no wonder that his universe imprint had 3 reactions. Seeing the crystal torso and legs, Charlotte was completely stunned. When the universe imprint sensed the existence of the crystal wreckage, his heart only thought that it was probably a crystal arm bone or a foot, but he didn't expect it to be a complete torso and leg bone. If I take away the torso and leg bone, in addition to the crystal arm bone I found in the Forest of Rest, I'll only be missing the arm bone of the crystal arm bone and the other arm bone and hand bone to complete the crystal skeleton. What will happen if I gather the entire crystal skeleton? Charlotte couldn't help but think about this question. At this time, he forgot a very important question, and that was that the crystal skull might still be in Stone City, or even on Earth. The sound of footsteps came from behind him. Charlotte retracted his palms and cautiously stuck to the wall beside the round cabin door. This time, the people who appeared were Tang Xing and 4 branded warriors. The 4 branded warriors were all unfamiliar faces, and he had never seen them before. I haven't been able to contact that guy Huang Kai. He must be playing with women again, one of the branded warriors said. Playing with women? I know that guy's taste. I'm afraid he's messing with some female students, another branded warrior said. The middle-aged man walking beside Tang Xing didn't say anything, but he used the corner of his eyes to observe Tang Xing's reaction. Tang Xing said, "Carter, tell your people to shut up. I don't need this kind of hint. That guy Huang Kai is indeed lecherous, but he's still capable. He knows how to curry favor with Dean Roland and the other committee members. So, it wasn't my decision to let him take over my position. In fact, I've always thought highly of you." "Thank you. The army commander has gone to the committee, but in my heart, you'll always be the army commander. My people and I will always follow you, and we'll listen to your orders at any time," the middle-aged man called Carter said. Tang Xing smiled. "Don't worry. When have I, Tang Xing, ever mistreated the people who follow me? One day, when I become the dean, you'll all prosper with me. Hurry up and thank the army commander." "You guys," Carter reminded his subordinates. The other 3 branded warriors also thanked Tang Xing, expressing their loyalty. This scene was simply a microcosm of the human world. They were already on the verge of extinction, but they were still scheming and scheming for their own interests. Getting rid of Tang Xing here was a good choice, but just as Charlotte was about to make his move, Carter's words made him change his mind. "Army Commander, why did the dean ask you to go to the laboratory so late at night?" Carter asked casually. Tang Xing said, "He didn't say, but I'm guessing that the results of that kid Charlotte's blood test are out. It's just a blood test report. Is there a need for the army commander to personally make a trip? He just asked us to send it to the army commander." "Seriously?" a branded warrior complained to please Tang Xing. Tang Xing said, "That kid is very strange. I reckon that his blood test report is extraordinary. I reckon that the committee will also send people over. Let's go, don't talk nonsense. We'll know when we get to the laboratory." The 5 of them walked past Charlotte. When they passed by Charlotte, Tang Xing stopped in his tracks and shifted his gaze in Charlotte's direction. Charlotte held his breath, and even his heartbeat was controlled to the extent that it would only jump once every 10 seconds. "Strange," Tang Xing mumbled, retracted his gaze, and continued to walk towards the money. In terms of strength, the military officer Tang Xing, who was also the army commander of the branded army, was naturally the strongest. When he passed by Charlotte, Tang Xing sensed something. His intuition was very sensitive, so at that moment, he looked warily in Charlotte's direction. However, apart from a bit of strange light, he didn't see anything. Then, he let his guard down and left. It was still the same reason. People were most likely to trust their eyes and not their intuition. My blood test report? I want to see what kind of report it is. Roland is also here, so I'll let him open that hatch. Charlotte made up his mind and didn't make a move on Tang Xing. He followed Tang Xing and the 4 branded warriors to the other end of the tunnel. After passing through 2 passageways and 2 hatches, Tang Xing and the 4 branded warriors arrived at the laboratory. It was a very large laboratory with a lot of experimental equipment and materials. This laboratory was more advanced than any laboratory that Charlotte had seen on Earth. There were already a few people in the laboratory, but Roland was not among them. A familiar face entered Charlotte's line of sight. Bai Ling was actually in this laboratory. She was tall and curvaceous, and she was the most eye-catching among those who had arrived earlier. After Charlotte followed Tang Sheng and the 4 branded warriors into the laboratory, in order to avoid being detected, he simply hid under a desk. Not only was he invisible, but he also had the desk as a cover. The chances of him being discovered were almost zero. Although there was a desk in front of him, with his transparent eyes, the desk was like air in front of him. When Tang Xing saw Bai Ling, he walked over and greeted her warmly. "Bai Ling, you're here so early?" Bai Ling said, "I came as soon as I received the notice." "Is Charlotte's blood test report out?" Tang Xing asked tentatively. "That report should be out," Bai Ling said. "But I don't know if it's because of that report." "If it's not because of that report, why would Dean Roland call us here?" "It must be. Do you know the details of that report? Can you tell me a little in advance?" "I don't know. I'm not in charge of that test," Bai Ling said. "I see. Then let's wait for Dean Roland to come." Tang Xing changed the topic. "Bai Ling, the rain outside has stopped. It's rare for the endless ocean to have such good weather. How about we go to the island for a picnic tomorrow? I can catch some sea fish and then we can roast them." "I'd better not go. I still have some questions to ask Mr. Xia tomorrow." Bai Ling declined. "It's okay. We'll go when you're free." Tang Xing had a smile on his face, but there was a flash of hatred in his eyes. At that moment, the door of the laboratory opened again. The white-haired Roland led a group of people into the laboratory. Chapter 1477. After a few brief greetings, Roland suddenly said, "Why isn't Huang Kai here?" Tang Xing said, "Director, I've already informed him, but I can't get in touch with him." Roland frowned. "He's actually not coming to such an important meeting. What's with his attitude?" Tang Xing then said to Carter, "Captain Carter, send someone to Huang Kai's house to take a look. Ask him to come over quickly." Carter nodded, then walked to a man standing a little further away and said, "Go to Captain Huang Kai's house and ask him to hurry up and attend the meeting." After saying this, his voice suddenly became inaudible, "Go home and sleep." The branded warrior was slightly stunned, then his brain suddenly turned, and he said, "I'll go right away." The 4 captains of the branded army were all here, but the most important one, Huang Kai, was missing. However, no one here knew that Huang Kai would never come, nor did they know that there was a special visitor in this laboratory, and they couldn't see this visitor at all. "Let's get down to business." Roland led the conversation to the main topic. "Today I've called everyone here mainly because of 2 things. I'll talk about the first one first, which is also the most serious one." Then he moved his gaze to a man wearing glasses. "Member Kong Long, you're in charge of intelligence work. Tell everyone about the situation." The bespectacled Kong Long was about 50 years old. He was thin, had sharp eyes, and gave people the impression that he was especially calm and steady. He walked to Roland's side, but he was not in a hurry to explain. Instead, he took out a miniature projector. He activated the projector, and a 3-dimensional projection instantly appeared in the void. Charlotte's gaze moved over, and when he saw the content of the projection, he was completely stunned. It was a video of the Blue Moon people attacking an underground city. A large number of Blue Moon soldiers, new protective armor, powerful energy weapons, and combat mecha appeared to be weak in the face of the Blue Moon people's military strength. Soldiers died, civilians were captured, and the entire underground city was burning and bleeding. The image quickly changed to the ground. In the sky above the ruins of a city, a huge warship was hovering. Aircrafts constantly flew out from it, bombing the armed forces on the ground. There were also transport spaceships continuously sending captured people onto the battleship. The 3D projection was still playing. Kong Long said in a deep voice, "This happened in an underground city in District 34 yesterday. An underground city with a population of 100,000 was destroyed overnight. Everyone disappeared. The soldiers died in battle, and the civilians were sent to the Blue Moon as food." "Damn it!" A branded warrior clenched his fist and said, "We should kill our way to Blue Moon and kill all those big-eyed beasts." Roland looked at the branded warrior who was filled with righteous indignation and said coldly, "Impulsive, your mission is to protect the Academy, not to be cannon fodder. As long as we protect the Academy, the spark of humanity's revival will not be extinguished." The branded warrior shut his mouth. Under the office desk, Xia Lei was filled with rage. He wanted nothing more than to rush up and tear Roland's mouth off his face, skin and flesh together. As long as the Academy was protected, the spark of humanity's revival would not be extinguished. These words sounded dignified and inspiring, but in reality, a small number of people led by Roland had taken control of the Academy and treated the Heavenly Jewel Academy as their own kingdom. These people were greedy for pleasure in the Academy, playing with power and toying with the female students. How could they save the civilians who were in dire straits? Kong Long continued, "Such a thing has never happened since we humans moved to the underground. This is the first time." A bald old man said, "The first time? Could it be that the Blue Moon people found it difficult to hunt on the surface, so they couldn't help but attack the underground cities?" Chairman Jiang. Kong Long's expression was solemn. "I'm afraid things are not as simple as you think. Our intelligence network not only obtained this video, but we also obtained another piece of information that cannot be verified." "What information?" Tang Xing asked. Kong Long said, "The Blue Moon People's army suddenly moved out and massacred the underground city of District 34, capturing almost all the civilians. This is a signal that a large amount of food is needed. The unverifiable information that we obtained is that the king of the Blue Moon people might be revived after 1,000 years. There were gasps in the laboratory. Fear and despair immediately spread throughout the laboratory. Even Charlotte was shocked and uneasy by this unverifiable information. On Earth, he was the special consultant of 101 innings, and he was also the trump card of 101 innings. He had extraordinary intuition when it came to intelligence. The Blue Moon people attacked an underground city for no reason and captured almost all the civilians. This was a very obvious signal. He had a feeling that the unverifiable information that Kong Long mentioned was true. The king of the Blue Moon people was about to be revived. The bald old man called Chairman Jiang looked anxious. "Then what are we waiting for? We should gather all the leaders of the cities, including those from the Black Market Alliance. We should form an alliance to fight against the Blue Moon people. If we are still scattered, our cities will be destroyed one by one. What awaits us is the fate of extinction." Roland said calmly, "Professor Jiang, you are too nervous. The theory of the extinction of humans has been going on for 1,000 years, but we are still alive, aren't we? This is just an unverified information. When we confirm the authenticity of this information, we can discuss the feasibility of your proposal." This bald old man was the chairman of the committee, but Roland did not even have a title of respect. From Charlotte's point of view, Roland suddenly arranged for Tang Xing to be part of the committee because he wanted Tang Xing to replace Professor Jiang and control the committee. This way, he would have complete control of the Heavenly Jewel Academy, and the Heavenly Jewel Academy would truly become his kingdom. "But," Professor Jiang said in a regretful tone, "we have been nurtured by the entire human race. The students in the Heavenly Jewel Academy are all elites selected from all over the world. We have resources that the cities do not have. We have technology, we have weapons, and we have the branded army. We should do something. We can't just stand by and watch. Enough. Roland was angry. Professor Jiang, do you know what you are saying? It is not that we do not want to take action, but we cannot do so casually. We only have one ship. Do you think we can defeat the Blue Moon People's fleet? Once we are discovered, the Blue Moon People's army will soon appear here, and we will all die. I, Roland, am not afraid of death, but if all the students here die, who will develop and revive the civilization? Professor Jiang said. Bai Ling stepped forward and held Professor Jiang's arm. Teacher, don't say any more. There is no use in being anxious. Professor Jiang sighed and did not say anything. Bai Ling moved closer to Professor Jiang's ear and lowered her voice. Commander Kanto is here. She brought a friend here. That person is called Charlotte. He is the most extraordinary genius I have ever seen. He might be able to help us through this difficult time. I will bring him to see you tomorrow, and you two can have a chat. Okay, I will definitely bring him here. Professor Jiang seemed to feel a little better. On the other side, Charlotte smiled bitterly. He thought to himself, you really know how to find things for me to do. You are not even feeding me, so why should I help you? Wait, stop. Eat, 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 eat. Eat your head. He inexplicably thought of the matter of drinking milk, and Xia Lei sweated profusely. When he saw a beautiful woman, he did not think about sleeping with her, but drinking her milk. He was becoming more and more perverted. Seeing Bai Ling and Professor Jiang whispering, Roland seemed to have noticed something, and his eyes turned cold. He shifted his gaze to Tang Xing, and Tang Xing nodded his head slightly. Charlotte immediately frowned. That look, Roland wants Tang Xing to kill Professor Jiang. These two fellows really deserve to die. I have said what I wanted to say. Kong Long put away his miniature projection device. Roland said, now I will talk about the second thing. Professor Yang Qing, please explain it. A young woman stood out. She was tall, about 1.8 meters tall. She was on the thin side, but her breasts were shocking. They were at least F-cup. She gave people the feeling that she could not bear the weight of her chest at any time and fall forward. She was extremely tall, had a slim figure, and had an F-class voluptuous body. Coupled with her exquisite and beautiful face, she and Bailing were two completely different kinds of women, but they were both women who could make people's eyes light up. Yang Qing opened a test report in her hand and said, Charlotte's blood test report is out. His blood is very normal, and the composition is the same as that of ordinary people. There are no abnormalities in his red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, connective tissues, and so on. After a pause, she changed the topic. However, I found the genetic organization in his blood, which is different from any of us. His genes are perfect, and there are no obvious mistakes. In addition, his blood contains an unknown energy substance, which is somewhat similar to the energy contained in spirit ores, but not the same. I can't confirm what that energy substance is. My judgment is that he. At this point, Yang Qing stopped again. Tang Xing urged, Professor Yang Qing, you are the representative of the biological world in our academy. Your opinion represents authority. Just say it, don't worry about anything. Yang Qing said, my preliminary judgment is that he has evolved ahead of time, and his degree of evolution far exceeds that of our branded warriors. What? Tang Xing said in surprise. Only our academy has the AE stock solution. How could he have evolved ahead of time? Yang Qing shrugged. I don't know, and my analysis is that his evolution is very natural. There are no mistakes, which means that there are no side effects. Do you mean that he evolved naturally? It was Roland who spoke. His voice was trembling, and it was difficult to suppress the excitement in his heart. Yang Qing nodded. Yes, natural evolution. There is no mistake. Then he is the answer we have been looking for. Ha! Roland suddenly burst into laughter. Tang Xing said excitedly, study him. We can solve the problem that is currently plaguing the entire Branded Legion. Once the evolution error is solved, the Branded Legion will become the most powerful superpower legion in the world. Wait, Professor Jiang said, Yang Qing, how is this possible? Even the holy lightning from 1,000 years ago did not reach the level of natural evolution, but you used the word perfect a lot. How could that charlotte have evolved to such a level naturally? I don't know, Yang Qing said. Wouldn't you know after studying him? Tang Xing sneered. He delivered himself to our door. This is the holy lightning having a spirit. It specially used this method to help us solve our problems and overcome our difficulties. What are you going to do to Mr. Xia? Bai Ling seemed to realize something, and she became nervous. Tang Xing's face darkened. Are you worried about him? Chapter 1478. Dean Roland. Professor Jiang said in a deep voice, such a plan must be discussed by the committee and then voted on. A hint of contempt appeared at the corner of Roland's mouth. Is that so? This academy is not just for you, nor is it for a few of you. Professor Jiang was very angry. The Heavenly Jewel Academy has been a democratic academy since its establishment, not a dictatorship. You can't make such a decision without the committee. I don't agree with this plan. Bai Ling said, I don't agree either. Mr. Xia is very important to us and even to the entire human race. If he really has natural evolution, then he will be a miracle for our entire human race. His wisdom can give us great help, and even lead the entire human race through this disaster. You want to capture him and then use him as a lab rat to study him. This is undoubtedly killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. The few committee members in the laboratory were in a heated discussion. From their words, it was clear that they supported Professor Jiang and Bai Ling. However, their discussion was quickly interrupted by Roland. Enough! Roland shouted, you pedantic fellows! It is your pedantry and soft-heartedness that makes us weak. His body is of great research value to us. I don't care if you agree to this or not. This is my decision, and I will not change it. Professor Jiang was so angry that he was trembling. Good. You have finally revealed your true colors. In the eyes of the dean, the committee is already a name, right? Well, I am in a hurry to hold the academy meeting and let everyone know your true colors. I want to hold a democratic election in the name of the committee to impeach you and elect a new dean. Impeach me? Roland was stunned for a moment, then suddenly laughed out loud. Professor Jiang, I think you have lost your mind. It is power that has made you lose your mind. Professor Jiang was not polite. Dean Roland's laughter suddenly stopped, and his expression instantly became ferocious. He roared, arrest them! There were 4 captains of the Branded Legion in this room, and these 4 captains also brought the strongest confidants of their respective teams. Roland informed the 5 captains and asked them to bring 2 to 3 branded warriors over. In fact, he already knew about the test report and wanted to do it for a long time. He was the one who had arranged for Professor Yang Qing's blood sample to be tested. How could Yang Qing not be the first to tell him the results? Now, it seemed that his surprised reaction after hearing the report was just an act. He had already predicted Professor Jiang's reaction, so he had informed a few captains to bring the branded warriors over. He wanted to get rid of Professor Jiang and the few committee members who opposed him. However, even though Dean Roland had given the order, the target of arrest was the highly respected Professor Jiang, a few committee members, and the Academy's belle. The captains and the branded warriors that they had brought along were all stunned for a moment and did not immediately execute the order. They glanced at Dean Roland, as if waiting for him to confirm the order again. Without waiting for President Roland to speak, Tang Xing shouted, "What are you waiting for? Didn't you hear the dean's order? Capture them all." Only then did the captains and branded warriors take action. They swarmed forward, and in the blink of an eye, they captured the person they wanted to capture. Roland! You old thief! What do you want to do? You're crazy! Professor Jiang shouted angrily. Let me go! Let me go! Bailing struggled with all her might. Dean Roland sneered. Do you know why I asked you to come to the laboratory for a meeting? Because the chemical solution here can make you disappear completely from this world. Not even a trace of you will be left. You will get what you deserve. Professor Jiang's voice was filled with anger. Bring them to the purification room and kill them with their navels. Then, dispose of their bodies, Dean Roland said. A few branded warriors escorted Professor Jiang and the committee members to the purification room. It was in the laboratory, a transparent glass room. Dean Roland, I didn't oppose you. I'm innocent. Yang Qin cried. Roland said, then you will be the one to kill them and dispose of their bodies. In this way, you will be considered one of us. Are you willing? Yang Qin was suddenly stunned. Roland sneered, you can't do it, right? Bring them in. No, no, Yang Qin cried and struggled. A branded warrior slammed his palm on her carotid artery. She groaned and fainted. You two, wait a minute. Tang Xing walked towards the two branded warriors who were escorting Bailing. He walked in front of Bailing and said, Be my woman, a real woman. Stay with me tonight and I can save you. Bah! Bailing spat on Tang Xing's face. Tang Xing could have dodged it, but he didn't. Tang Xing, you make me feel disgusted. I really regret knowing you. Bailing said angrily. Tang Xing wiped the saliva off his face and said coldly, then go to hell. I want to see you struggle in the poisonous gas and die, and then watch your body melt. Aren't you very beautiful? When that time comes, you will turn into a pool of red liquid and be flushed into the sewer. Bah! Bailing opened her mouth and spat at Tang Xing again. This time Tang Xing dodged it. Bring her in. The two branded warriors brought Bailing to the purification room and pushed her in. Bailing staggered and fell to the ground. The door of the purification room was closed. A few committee members desperately smashed the special glass wall and screamed in horror, but their voices couldn't be heard at all. Professor Jiang sat on the ground and muttered to himself, but even he didn't know what he was saying. Bailing got up from the ground, and tears rolled down from the corner of her eyes. No one could be fearless in the face of death. She was actually very afraid in her heart, but she didn't want Tang Xing to see her afraid, so she was prepared to stand and accept her death. Outside the purification room, more than 10 people watched coldly. There was no mercy in their eyes, not even the slightest bit of humanity. It was as if the person who was about to be executed in the purification room wasn't the professors and scholars who they interacted with day and night, but rather a lab rat. Hee hee. Dean Roland laughed out loud. After we get rid of these annoying fellows, this academy will be ours. For 1,000 years, the academy has been operating on the wrong track, and now we will adjust it to the right track. Believe me, it won't be long before we become a powerful kingdom. I will follow the dean to build this kingdom. Tang Xing said. We all pledge our lives to follow the dean. A group of branded warriors also expressed their loyalty. Roland said, Let me tell you, in my heart, I have a great plan for a long time. I want to catch Charlotte and find the answer to our mistakes from him. Then we will wait for the transport ship to come in and open up the sky, fly out of here, and go to another planet that is suitable for us to live on to redevelop our civilization. There are many girls in the academy, and we also have a rich sperm and egg bank. It won't take long for us to develop. At that time, you will all be the founders of civilization. Ha ha ha! Laughter. I'll deal with them myself. Tang Xing walked to the control panel of the purification room. The committee members who were desperately smashing the glass wall saw Tang Xing walk to the control panel, and they seemed to realize something. They completely collapsed. Some collapsed to the ground, some knelt on the ground and begged for mercy, and some even hit the glass wall with their heads. Bailing looked at Tang Xing standing in front of the control panel. Death was coming, but at this moment she suddenly quieted down and stopped crying. Bailing, aren't you afraid? Tang Xing's voice came from the speaker. Kneel and apologize to me. I will forgive you. Bailing suddenly raised her right hand and pointed her middle finger at Tang Xing. Go to hell. *tch. Tang Xing's hand pressed down on the release switch in anger. Suddenly, a strong force came down from above and instantly cut Tang Xing's wrist. Poof! Blood sprayed out. Tang Xing's right hand and half of his wrist fell to the ground. Ah! Tang Xing screamed in horror. His feet kicked the ground and he flew back a few meters. As the commander of the Branded Legion, he was the strongest in the Branded Legion. How could his reaction not be fast? The other branded warriors also reacted quickly. Tang Xing's wrist was strangely cut, and the 4 captains and more than 10 branded warriors instantly pulled out their weapons. Some were cold weapons and some were energy pistols. The AE energy on their bodies suddenly increased, and the entire laboratory was filled with AE energy. It felt like a barrel of gunpowder, and the slightest spark would cause it to explode. What's going on? What happened? Dean Roland was also shocked, but he quickly calmed down. Did any of you see anything? More than 10 branded warriors vigilantly observed the interior of the laboratory, but they did not find anything. Tang Xing suddenly shouted, "There's an assassin! He can turn invisible!" This sentence made the already tense atmosphere even more tense. Use fire. Tang Xing's thought process was extremely fast. Use fire to heat the fire sensor. Water the laboratory and that guy will appear. One of the branded warriors suddenly raised his hands, and a scorching flame suddenly appeared in his palms. However, at that moment, a huge wound suddenly appeared on his neck, and blood spurted out. The flame stopped abruptly, and the fire sensor did not spray any water. In the purification room, a few committee members who were about to go crazy quietened down and looked at what was happening outside the glass wall with their mouths agape. Bailing also could not hold it in any longer. She rushed to the glass wall in a few steps, put her face on the glass wall, and stared outside. Tang Xing turned on the speaker, and the voices outside came from the speaker. So, she and a few committee members knew what was happening. However, she could not see the assassin that Tang Xing was talking about. In the laboratory, Tang Xing suddenly kicked an experiment table, and it flew up. The strength of his leg was quite terrifying, and the experiment table, which was about 100 kilograms, flew up from the ground and hit the ceiling. His motive was simple, but it was very smart. He wanted to use the experiment table to smash the fire sensor, and then directly destroy the water pipe, so that water would spray down. A branded warrior suddenly leaped to a corner of the laboratory, and punched the fire sensor on the ceiling. This was quite a good coordination. The assassin with the invisibility device could not attack 2 targets at the same time. Chapter 1479. Gotcha. A strange sound, like a sharp knife cutting through a carrot or a sugar cane. Tang Xing let out a blood-curdling scream and fell to the ground. The sole of his right foot was chopped off from his ankle. Blood spurted out, and the sole of his foot rolled twice on the ground before stopping. Bang! The laboratory table hit the ceiling, and the entire table was embedded into the ceiling. Alas, no water sprayed down from above. On the other hand, the branded warrior had succeeded. His fist was covered in flames. Although the temperature of the flames was not as high as real fire, the fire sensor head still reacted. An alarm sounded, and water was poured from the ceiling to extinguish the fire. It started to rain in the laboratory. A human figure appeared in the rain. Charlotte's figure and Charlotte's face gradually became clearer in the rain. Water was not light, and Charlotte's branded power was unable to absorb or refract water. In the rain, He was unable to become invisible. Xia Lei's position was right beside Tang Xing. He was holding an ancient dagger in his hand. That was the royal family's heirloom, the Ice Soul Dagger. When they had left for the Heavenly Jewel Academy, Lan Ji had lent him this dagger. It's you, it's you. Tang Xing had lost an arm and a leg, but he had not fainted. From this, one could see how strong he was and how firm his will was. However, this Legion commander of the Heavenly Jewel Academy's strongest branded legion had his hands and feet cut off like a carrot. What kind of terrifying power did the culprit have? Although Charlotte was forced to show himself, his aura was even stronger than the branded legion. It's me. Charlotte had a strange smile on his face. In order to force me to show myself, you are really going all out. In your opinion, I should assassinate that fellow. He pointed at the branded warrior who had successfully made the fire sensor head release water, and said, "But I won't kill him. If he releases water, I will kill you." Tang Xing spat out a mouthful of blood. It was not because of his serious injuries, but because he was so angry that he vomited blood. He was the Legion commander of the branded legion. When had he ever been trampled on like this? Humiliated? Charlotte had not only chopped off one of his arms and one of his legs, but he had also chopped off his dignity. Charlotte didn't even look at Tang Xing. His gaze shifted to Roland. He was expressionless, and his eyes were extremely cold. I didn't expect you to do such a thing. You really deserve to die. What are you waiting for? Kill him! Tang Xing roared. His voice was still echoing in the laboratory when Charlotte suddenly took a step to the side, raised his foot, and stepped heavily on Tang Xing's neck. Tang Xing saw Charlotte move. He instinctively wanted to dodge, but at that moment, his body seemed to be pressed to the ground by a large hand, unable to move. No, Tang Xing screamed in horror. Charlotte's right foot stomped on Tang Xing's neck. Kacha! It was the sound of the cervical vertebra breaking. Tang Xing's head tilted to the side powerlessly. Everyone had fantasized about the scene of their own death, but to be trampled to death was a way that Tang Xing had never dreamed of. It was also the most humiliating way to die. In the purification room, Bailing watched everything that had just happened with her eyes wide open. Just as Charlotte trampled Tang Xing to death, Charlotte seemed to have become incomparably tall in her eyes, and his entire body seemed to be glowing. In every woman's heart, there was an unparalleled hero, and at this moment, Charlotte was her unparalleled hero. He had pulled her back from the brink of death, and he had used such a thunderous method to seek justice for her, making her feel proud and elated. Bailing, the Charlotte you were talking about, is it him? Professor Zhang's voice was trembling. Bailing nodded her head heavily and said excitedly, "It's him, it's him, it's him! It's him I'm talking about!" Amazing! Professor Jiang exclaimed. In the laboratory, all the branded warriors pounced on Charlotte. Charlotte had trampled their Legion commander to death in front of them. When had the branded Legion ever suffered such humiliation? Moreover, it concerned their own life and death. Therefore, the 4 captains and the elite branded warriors they had brought with them attacked furiously. Their imposing manner made it seem as if they could not wait to smash Charlotte into minced meat. Kill him! Whoever kills him will take over Tang Xing's position. Roland roared. Charlotte also moved, holding a dagger and rushing into the group of branded warriors. The moment both sides came into contact, a bloody scene unfolded. Screams rang out in the laboratory. A second ago, a head flew off, and a second later, an arm flew off. Fresh blood flowed on the ground, dyeing it red. Mutilated corpses fell down one by one, and their deaths were horrifying. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the branded warriors had fallen. However, after paying such a heavy price, they did not even manage to tear off a corner of Charlotte's clothes. When the branded warriors pounced on Charlotte, they did not expect such an outcome. In their minds, no matter how powerful Charlotte was, he would not be able to defeat so many people. They would be injured, and there might even be casualties, but Charlotte would definitely be beaten to death by them. However, in the blink of an eye, more than half of them had fallen to Charlotte, and they did not even manage to touch a corner of Charlotte's clothes. With such a huge disparity in strength, how could they fight? The morale of the branded warriors disappeared in the blink of an eye, and some of them even turned around and fled towards the door. Trash. Roland suddenly pounced on the corpse of a branded warrior, pulled out an energy pistol from the corpse, and fired a shot at Charlotte and a few other branded warriors. Boom! A few branded warriors were instantly blown into minced meat, and there was no one left standing at the place where the battle had taken place. No, Lark screamed, and tears flowed out of her eyes. Charlotte had given her hope of survival, and he had also given the Academy hope, but now all hope had been shattered. Ha ha ha! Roland laughed loudly. You are powerful, you are fast, but can you be faster than a gun? Idiot, you should have killed me first. Ah, with a blood-curdling scream, the branded warrior who had escaped to the entrance of the laboratory fell to the ground. Charlotte appeared at the entrance of the laboratory and said calmly, "On the contrary, I was prepared to kill you last. Moreover, I don't think that there is any difference. In my eyes, you are already a dead man." You! Roland had only said one word when his right index finger suddenly pulled the trigger. A cold light suddenly flashed, and in an instant, it traversed the space between the two of them. When it stopped again, it was already in Roland's right wrist. Roland let out a blood-curdling scream, and the energy pistol fell to the ground. Charlotte's body instantly sped up, and the water lilies that were pouring down from the ceiling were smashed by him, leaving behind a comet-like trajectory. Bang! Roland's body flew up from the ground, crashing through the laboratory tables and experimental equipment, and finally slamming heavily into the wall before stopping. Bada! Roland fell to the ground. He was not dead yet. He was also a person who had been injected with the AE solution, and his vitality was far stronger than ordinary people. However, he could not get up again because the impact from Charlotte just now was like a high-speed train crashing into his body, and almost all the bones in his body were broken. He is still alive. He is still alive. Lark was so excited that she jumped up, but unfortunately, Charlotte did not seem to hear her. Charlotte walked to Roland's side, bent down, and pulled out the ice soul dagger from Roland's wrist. Then, he rubbed the dagger against Roland's face twice, wiping off the blood on it. "Don't kill me!" Cough. Roland's voice was very weak. You want. Whatever you want, I can give it to you. The Branded Legion, no. I can give you the entire Academy. Puff! As soon as he finished speaking, a mouthful of blood spurted from Roland's mouth. Charlotte looked at him. At this point, do you still think the Heavenly Jewel Academy is yours? Can you give it to me? Save me, Roland begged. Charlotte sneered. Killing a person like you will dirty my hand. I will let the committee members decide your fate. If they don't kill you, I will kill you, okay? Puff. Roland spurted blood again. Charlotte walked to the control panel and opened the door of the purification room. Mr. Xia. Lark was the first to rush out of the purification room. She threw herself at Charlotte and hugged him. Sometimes people would lose control. However, losing control was losing control. After surviving a disaster, Lark did not care about the eyes of the committee members behind her. At this time, she just wanted to hug Charlotte, her unparalleled hero. She was plump and fragrant, and the killing intent and hostility on Charlotte's body was suddenly diluted. He froze slightly. He did not hug Lark, but he did not push her away either. Kong Long, who was in charge of intelligence work, suddenly rushed to Roland, who was still breathing. He picked up an experimental instrument and smashed it on Roland's head. Bang! Bang bang bang. Roland's head was smashed by the experimental instrument, and then it was deformed. Finally, it turned into a lump of rotten meat, where even the face could not be seen. Pfft! Kong Long spat a mouthful of phlegm on Roland's body, kicked him, and added, "Damn it, scum!" All the committee members who were going to be executed left the purification room. Even Yang Qing, who had fainted, was carried out. After being splashed with water, she slowly woke up. She saw corpses all over the ground, as well as heads, broken hands, and feet. She said in horror, Am I in hell? Am I dead? We are all alive. Mr. Xia saved us." Professor Jiang walked towards Charlotte. Lark was still holding Charlotte, and she did not notice the situation behind her at all. She was immersed in a state that even she did not know. Professor Jiang coughed dryly. Only then did Lark react, and she hurriedly let go of Charlotte. In an environment where there were corpses everywhere, and even the air was filled with the smell of blood, she actually blushed. "Mr. Xia." Professor Jiang walked up to Charlotte, and his tone was full of sincerity and gratitude. "I know that a word of thanks is far from enough, but I still want to thank you. Not only did you save our lives, but you also saved the Academy." Xia Lei's mouth quirked up in a faint smile. "The Heavenly Jewel Academy is a sacred place, and it should be left to someone like you to manage it. And no need to thank me. I just did the right thing." Professor Jiang said, "When I heard Lark talk about you, I really wanted to meet you. I didn't expect that our first meeting would be in such an environment. Let's go somewhere else to talk." "However," Xia Lei said, "now is not the time to talk. Although Roland and Tang Xing are already dead, the two of them have controlled the Branded Legion for a long time, and they will soon find out about what happened here. You have to make plans as soon as possible and take control of the Branded Legion, or else there will be trouble." "Yes, Mr. Xia is right. Gather everyone immediately and announce the crimes of Roland and Tang Xing." Lark then suggested, "This way, public opinion will suppress those who are in cahoots with Roland and Tang Xing. In addition, Roland and Tang Xing are already dead, so they should not cause trouble." Charlotte smiled and said, "I didn't expect Teacher Lark to think so far ahead. This is a good idea. We can't kill all the branded warriors. Give them a chance and they will make the right choice." "What about you?" Lark asked. Charlotte said, "I'm a little tired. I plan to go back and take a bath, and then have a good sleep. Go do what you need to do. I can go back by myself." Lark still wanted to say something, but Charlotte had already turned around and left. There was a hint of disappointment in her eyes. Chapter 1480. An ear-piercing alarm sounded in the Nuwa and the honeycomb at the same time. Professor Zhang's voice came from Yang Xing's system. "Everyone, gather at the Hope Square in 10 minutes. A major incident has happened in the Academy. The moment to decide our fate has come." Such words were repeated continuously. The crew members in the spaceship, the students and scholars living in the honeycomb cave all walked out of their homes and gathered at the bottom of the honeycomb. The bottom of the honeycomb was the Hope Square that Professor Jiang had mentioned. Almost everyone had gone to the honeycomb. There were only a few crew members who could not leave their posts on the Nuwa spaceship. Those staff members were all in the bridge. There was no one else at all. Of course, Charlotte would not miss this opportunity. After most of the crew members had gone to the honeycomb, he once again entered stealth mode and came to the huge round cabin door. This time, he did not come empty-handed. He brought with him the passcode that he had dug out from Roland's brain. However, he could not bring Roland's body over to be scanned. Therefore, it took him about 5 minutes to open the round metal cabin door. The round metal cabin door closed automatically. Charlotte walked toward the crystal coffin in the center. The closer he got to the crystal coffin, the stronger the resonance of the cosmic imprint in his soul. When he walked to the side of the crystal coffin and looked at the crystal wreckage in the crystal coffin, he even had a strange feeling that his cosmic imprint and soul were about to fly out of his body and pounce toward the crystal wreckage in the crystal coffin. What What's going on? Why do I feel like my soul is out of my body? Charlotte's heart was filled with horror. I evolved naturally. There are no side effects to my evolution. Moreover, the existence of a soul is obviously the result of a wrong ultimate evolution. Itashtab and Cassie Lewis are living examples. But why do I suddenly feel like I have to abandon my body and exist as a soul? However, although the feeling of his soul leaving his body was very strong, his soul did not leave his body in the end. The cosmic imprint in the depths of his soul was like an imprisonment seal. At this moment it played a huge role. It imprisoned his soul and did not let his soul leave his body. After calming down a little, Charlotte pushed open the lid of the crystal coffin and reached out to grab the torso of the crystal wreckage. Suddenly, the universe imprint shook violently. After that, a mysterious energy surged into his body like a tide and rushed towards his brain. The mysterious power was incomparably powerful, and Charlotte's body endured a huge impact. He felt that his blood vessels, his nerves, his bones, and even every cell in his body were about to be torn apart by that kind of energy. If the mysterious energy was compared to a sudden flood after a rainstorm, then Charlotte's body was like a river that was already full of water. Boom! Unable to bear it, Charlotte's vision turned black and he fainted. His body also fell to the ground. Coincidentally, this fall had separated his hand from the crystal wreckage, cutting off the channel through which the mysterious energy flowed into his body. This was a very fortunate thing. If this kind of forceful injection continued for a few more seconds, not only would it not kill him, but it would also cause irreparable damage to his body. People who had fainted had no sense of time. After an unknown amount of time, Charlotte gradually regained consciousness. But it was only a little bit of consciousness. He could not wake up, nor could he command his body to get up from the ground. In a daze, his world of consciousness had a little light. At first, the light was only a line, but it grew brighter and brighter, until it was so intense that it burned his eyes. He closed his eyes in pain, but the intense light did not disappear because he closed his eyes. It was still so intense, as if it wanted to burn his eyes blind. In this pain of wanting to wake up but not being able to, wanting to close his eyes but being burned by the white light, a face suddenly appeared in the white light. The appearance of this face seemed to have consumed a lot of energy, and the white light suddenly dimmed a lot. Charlotte's eyes felt a little better. He opened his eyes and looked at the face in the white light. It was a very blurry face. He could not see its eyes, nose, or mouth clearly. At this time, a voice suddenly came from the face. "You're here!" The voice was hoarse and low, full of magic. This was the first time Xia Lei had heard of it, but strangely, he had a very familiar feeling about it. It was as if the person talking to him was someone he was very familiar with, a friend he had known for many years. The voice gave him a very familiar feeling. "Who are you?" Charlotte asked. His voice was also filled with surprise and speculation. "I am Holy Thunder." The voice came from the white light. It seemed very far away, but also seemed to be right beside him. At that moment, when the name Holy Thunder entered his ears, Charlotte felt like he was struck by lightning. His whole body and even his thoughts froze. He had many guesses about the owner of the crystal, but none of them were Holy Thunder. The reason was simple. Holy Thunder was a human, and humans could not have crystal-like bones. "You are very surprised." Holy Thunder's voice. Charlotte finally came back to his senses, but he was still very surprised. You are already dead. How can you still talk to me?" "Yes, I am already dead. When I died, I sealed a strand of my soul in my bones, waiting for you to awaken me. Just now, you woke me up, and that is why I can see you and talk to you. Don't be surprised, you will soon be able to use this ability." Charlotte suddenly understood. On Earth, every time he came into contact with the crystal skull, he would feel a sense of familiarity and intimacy. That strange feeling was because the crystal skull contained a wisp of Holy Thunder's remnant soul. However, at that time, he was too weak to awaken the remnant of Holy Thunder's soul, and he was unable to communicate with it. As the universe brand matured and appeared, he now had the ability to do so. Tonight, when he touched Holy Thunder's bones, he had awakened the remnant of Holy Thunder's soul. I know why you are here. Holy Thunder's voice. I am here to find that clue. Xia Lei held back the excitement and surprise in his heart as he said, I know your mission is the same as mine. Tell me, where is the missing fragment of the world box? Did Queen Sabbath tell you? There is a clue in the Heavenly Jewel Academy. Holy Thunder's voice. Charlotte nodded. That was the agreement between me and it. The clue it mentioned was the wisp of soul that I sealed in my bones. However, before I tell you the clue, I want to tell you my story. It is very important to you, it will give you inspiration. Holy Thunder's voice. Go ahead. Charlotte's emotions calmed down a little. I and all the humans in this world were brought to this world by the origin. It can sow a civilization on a planet like a seed. I was born on a spaceship. I did not have a father, and my mother told me that she did not know how I came to be. I grew up on the spaceship, and there were many books and videos on the ship, all of which were related to a planet called Earth. The teachers in school always taught us about Earth, and we all thought that we had escaped from Earth, that the small planet had been destroyed in the apocalypse. However, I later found out that the spaceship had actually been flying in the universe for more than 300 years, and more than 10 generations of humans were born and died on the spaceship. Everything we came into contact with was prepared for us by the origin. We are just a species that the origin copied from Earth, and came to this planet to complete its mission. So, rather than saying that we are immigrants from Earth, it is better to say that we are seeds. Charlotte's heart was filled with emotion. No wonder he could not find out the exact time that humans migrated to this planet. Everything about humans in this world was copied from Earth by the origin. It was a different time and space, a different world. Just think about it, how could humans migrate from Earth to the Hope Star? The copied seeds had failed, so the origin decided to do it on Earth, leaving him as the original seed to replace the failed Holy Thunder and continue to complete its mission. The origin gave me extraordinary intelligence, and I grew up in that spaceship. I saw many people grow old and die, and I was greatly touched and inspired. I started to study the human body and the soul. Later on, I researched artificial evolution, or AE. I started the journey of advanced evolution, and I became the smartest and strongest person on that spaceship. I naturally became the leader of that spaceship, and after coming to this world, I became the leader of the entire human race. I built human civilization while searching for that fragment. Everything went smoothly and human civilization flourished. At that rate, I believed that it would not be long before we conquered the entire Hope Star. On top of that mission, I also found an important clue. However, just as I was about to succeed, the Blue Moon people appeared. You already know what happened next, so I won't say much. However, there is one thing I want to tell you, and that is that you and I are not the only ones who have shouldered this mission. Before us there were the Ahemus, but they failed. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat again. He knew about the Ahemus Stone Search Project, but before they could find the stone, the Blue Moon people invaded. The Holy Thunder was about to succeed, but the Blue Moon people came again, and they failed again. Even he, who was on Earth, was facing the invasion of the Blue Moon people. It was the end of the world. Behind all of this, there really was a giant hand in the sky. Who was the owner of that giant hand that covered the sky? It was unimaginable. However, I don't know who was the Ahemus who shouldered this mission. The Ahemus failed, so I came. I failed, so you came. I hope that you can succeed. If you fail, there will be another you to continue this mission. The civilization that I built was destroyed, and the people were plunged into misery and suffering. If you fail, your civilization will also be destroyed, and the people will also be plunged into misery and suffering. I don't know if this is the punishment of the origin, or the giant hand's punishment. I also don't know how long this cycle will last. I just don't want to see you suffer like I did. Believe me, watching billions of people die because of your own failure and being slaughtered like livestock, that kind of feeling, you don't want to experience it. If he failed, he would not only die, but billions of people would also be buried with him. Charlotte's heart was extremely heavy. He took a deep breath. I understand what you mean. Thank you for your story. Now tell me, what is that clue? Chapter 1481. Holy Thunder's voice came from the white light. There's an ancient city in the great Maha Desert. It wasn't built by humans, nor was it built by the Ahemus or the Blue Moon people. It's huge. Even an ordinary house is bigger than the building we built. Charlotte was excited. A city of giants? Is the fragment in that ancient city? I don't know. When I found the ancient city, the Blue Moon people invaded before I could go there. Now that I think about it, it wasn't a coincidence. My investigation triggered something. That's why I died. After a pause, Holy Thunder's voice said, also, it's not a city of giants. It's a city of God. A city of God? Charlotte's excitement turned into shock. He was an atheist. Even though he had godlike abilities, he did not believe in the existence of God. Holy Thunder's voice said, I'm also an atheist. Then why do you say it's a city of God? Have you seen a God? No. Charlotte smiled bitterly. Your words are contradictory. That depends on how you look at it, Holy Thunder said. We humans created many gods in the era when technology was lacking. Jesus Christ, the three pure ones, the Buddha. But those gods were just belief. They were spiritual powers and did not exist. The gods I'm talking about are existences that can compete with the laws of the universe. They control the secrets of the universe. They have the ability to create or destroy a civilization. Not only can they exist in this plane of the universe, but they can also exist in another plane of the universe. They can pass through the restrictions of laws and enter any space in the universe freely. Compete with the laws of the universe? I don't believe it. I didn't believe it either. But when you evolve to my level, or even surpass me, you will believe it. Think about it from another angle. The origin that brought us to this world, it must have a creator, right? The world box that we're looking for, it has a creator, right? Charlotte was shocked. God. Most people did not believe in the existence of God. However, there was always a hand that created all things, and it wasn't an exaggeration to describe the existence that controlled that power as a God. From the perspective of faith, God would be Christ Jesus, the three pure ones, and the Buddha Lord. But from the perspective of the universe and all things in the universe, he was the power that created all things, and the existence that controlled that power was God. In fact, in the eyes of ordinary people, how could he not be a god? The simplest standard was that when one's power reached a certain level and surpassed all living beings, that person would be a god. I don't know when and who built that ancient city. I've collected all the information about it, and I've sorted out a clue from that information. The clue is that there is a spatial rift in the ancient city. That's how I understand it. You can also think of it as a spatial black hole. As for the fragment we're looking for, it's very likely that it's in that spatial rift. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. This was the most accurate information he had obtained about the fragment so far. He said excitedly, I want to go take a look. No, you can't go. Why? With your current abilities, there will only be one outcome for you if you go, and that is death. The shackles there are much stronger than anything you have ever encountered. Have you seen my bones? You have to evolve to at least surpass me before you can go in. Only then can you enter that spatial rift and complete our mission, Saint Thunder's voice said. Charlotte could not see Saint Thunder's bones, but he understood what Saint Thunder was saying. To evolve all the bones in one's body into something like crystal, what kind of concept was that? It looked like he had to continue drinking milk, a huge amount of milk. That year, I found that ancient city, but before I could even go there, the Blue Moon people came. My experience, my failure, should be a warning to you. You should avoid making the same mistakes that I did. You have to become stronger as soon as possible. Before you go to that ancient city, you'd better solve the problem of the Blue Moon people. Charlotte suddenly thought of something. Before I talk to you, the Heavenly Jewel Academy received a report that the King of the Blue Moon people is about to be revived. Does this have anything to do with our meeting this time? I'm not sure. I'm just a remnant spirit. I can communicate with you, but I can't sense the outside world. After this meeting, I will also disappear, and I won't be able to help you with anything. Everything will depend on you. Also, I have a wish. If you can complete that mission and solve all the problems, can you bring my bones to Earth to be buried? My head is there, it's too lonely. That year, when I decided to go to the ancient city, I actually wanted to go to Earth to take a look. Wait! Charlotte suddenly interrupted him. You want to go to Earth to take a look? How can you do that? It's not complicated. If you evolve to my level, you can ask the Queen of Rest for help. Don't forget, she has one of her kind in the origin. She and her kind can establish a connection across space and time. Sending a part of your soul over should not be a problem. Two energy trees appeared in Charlotte's mind. One was the Queen of Rest, and the other was the energy tree in the origin. Then, many familiar and friendly faces appeared. Liang Xiao, Shintu Tianin, Tang Yuan, Long Bing, Jiang Rui, Fan Fan, and his children, Liang Jiyu, Xia Long, Xia Jianghe, Xia Fan, Xia Yang, Xia Yu, Xia Tavang, and Giovanna, Stella, Rosa, Teresa, Akiko Tsukino. He couldn't wait to go back and see his women and children. Your head. All the faces were suddenly interrupted by worry. Charlotte said worriedly, when I left Earth, there were 2 Blue Moon people on Earth. One was called Isadabu and the other was called Kasia Ruiz. One of them wanted to get the secret of the box, and the other wanted to turn Earth into a hunting ground to revive the Blue Moon people's civilization. Are all these things happening now? The voice of the Holy Thunder said, we are in different space and time, on different planes. We are moving on different orbits. Your world is the same. What should happen will happen. The blue moon in the sky, the Blue Moon people on this planet, they are my opponent. Yours is not here. So, you can't go to the ancient city now. Otherwise, if you touch that big hand, everything you are worried about will happen. I was like this back then. You can't make the same mistake again. Xia Lei longed to appear in that ancient city right now and put an end to all of this. However, when he thought about the failure of the Holy Thunder, it was equivalent to the failure of his predecessor. He had to suppress the strong desire to end everything. Not for anything else but because he could not fail. If he failed, doomsday would really come to Earth. The human civilization on Earth, his wife, his children, his confidants, these were actually his life gate. The thing that controlled his life gate was not only the big hand that covered the sky, but also origin. He was like a lone hero in a movie whose family was kidnapped to carry out a dangerous mission. On one hand, he had to fight with the enemy, but on the other hand, he had to worry about his family being killed. His battlefield was not just here. This world was just a secondary battlefield for him. His main battlefield was Earth. After understanding his situation, he was filled with anger and hatred toward Origin, and the big hand that covered the sky. King of the Blue Moon people, Shin Yu is as one. This is the last thing I want to tell you. Charlotte nodded. This conversation had solved a lot of the confusion in his heart. He was very grateful to the Holy Thunder and wanted to talk more. However, no matter what kind of conversation it was, there was always an end. Those who should leave had to leave, and those who wanted to stay could not stay. Shin Yu is as one. He is stronger than me. I and many other powerful beings on this planet fought against him. We all died, but in exchange, he was heavily injured. I am not surprised that he woke up. This world is about to start a new round of bloodshed. Quickly become stronger and help me kill Shin Yu and complete that mission. I will. Don't forget what you promised me. A smile appeared on Charlotte's face. My home is in the capital. There are many trees and flowers in my backyard. I think you will like that place. I look forward to that day. Finally, I also have a question for you. What do you want to know? Your evolution has not gone wrong so far. I am very curious, how did you do it? You have to know that when I was at your stage, my evolution already went wrong. My body has no warmth, and I hate all food. Then, do you eat people? No, I used AE to start my path of evolution. Then, I refined the spiritual energy in the spirit ores to improve my evolution. I became stronger and stronger, but the evolution mistake became bigger and bigger. The reason I lost to Shin Yu was actually because of my own problems. Then what about you? Holy Thunder's voice was filled with curiosity. Charlotte hesitated for a moment before saying, "Drinking milk." Drinking milk. Charlotte was a little embarrassed. "Haha." Holy Thunder laughed. "Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I think of that? Every species has its own evolution system. Women are the milk that nurtures life. Such a simple, ordinary thing is the correct answer. I understand. Goodbye, Charlotte." "Goodbye, Holy Thunder." Charlotte's heart was filled with sadness. The face in the white light suddenly became clear. The eyes, nose, and mouth were all revealed. Charlotte was stunned. The face in the white light was his own face. He looked at the face in the white light as if he was looking at a mirror. The face in the white light disappeared. The white light also disappeared. Charlotte's consciousness walked out of the darkness. The scenery in front of him had not changed at all. It was still in that hemispherical space. Holy Thunder's skeleton lay quietly in the crystal coffin, no longer making any sound. Holy Thunder was a legend when he was alive. He created the human civilization in this world. He was dead. He was so quiet. Charlotte looked at the skeleton in the crystal coffin and said softly, "Don't worry. I will complete that mission and then bring you to my backyard to bury. I will tell my children that this is their uncle." After a pause, he smiled. "Yes, biological uncle." After saying this, he closed the lid of the crystal coffin and turned to leave. He had already obtained the information and the clue he wanted. He no longer needed to take his skeleton away. He wanted to find the rest of the skeleton and bring it to Earth to be buried when he left this world. Chapter 1482. The square was filled with people. The Academy's students, scholars, as well as the Academy's logistics and armed personnel were all gathered in the square. There were about 10,000 people. Bai Ling, Professor Jiang, Kong Long, and the committee members stood in the center of the square to speak. There was no podium. Professor Jiang announced what had happened, and the situation went out of control. The ones who made the most noise were the branded warriors of the Branded Legion. They had never obeyed the management of the committee, and they did not even put the committee in their eyes. They only listened to Tang Xing and Roland's orders, and Tang Xing and Roland gave them preferential treatment that the committee could not give them. They could sleep with the Academy's female students whenever they wanted, and the resources they received were much higher than the Academy's scholars and teaching staff. Now that Professor Jiang had announced that Dean Roland and Tang Xing were dead, it meant that the benefits that Dean Roland and Tang Xing had given them were gone. How could they be willing to give up? "Professor Jiang, You said that Dean Roland and our Legion commander were killed by you because they betrayed the Academy. Where is your evidence? A branded warrior asked loudly. His voice was even louder than Professor Jiang's, who was speaking through a loudspeaker. Of course we have evidence, but the technicians are still sorting it out. We will announce the evidence later. Announce later? I'm afraid they are creating evidence? Dean Roland is a person of virtue and prestige, and our Legion commander is just and selfless. How did they become traitors overnight? Another branded warrior questioned in a rough voice. He did not put Professor Jiang and the committee members in his eyes. Isn't that obvious? A burly branded warrior said. It must be them who killed Dean Roland and our Legion commander, then casually gave them a crime, and now they want to take over our Legion. Damn it, I don't agree. Arrest them and bring them back to the Legion for interrogation. Yes, arrest them and interrogate them. We must give Dean Roland and our Legion commander an explanation. First it was questioning, then it was opposition, and then it was confrontation. This was not a trick, but a group of people who could not bear to give up the benefits in their hands to resist the committee, students, and scholars. With Professor Jiang as the leader, it was the largest group in the entire Heavenly Jewel Master Academy, but it was also the weakest group. Even 100 students would not be able to defeat a single branded warrior, let alone an entire army of branded warriors. The committee wanted to take over the branded legion, to bring the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy back to the right path, but how could the branded legion give up the benefits in their hands so easily? In fact, the voices of doubt and opposition just now were instigated by a few vice-captains. To the vice-captains, the death of President Roland and Tang Xing was also an opportunity for them to take over. As soon as the sounds of arrest and interrogation were heard, the branded warriors rushed towards Professor Jiang, Bailing, and the committee members. What do you want? The sudden change caught Bailing by surprise. She angrily said, You are the branded warriors who protect the Academy. Everything you have comes from the Academy. Are you going to make the Academy your enemy? Shut up. Lampard laughed coldly. You cannot represent the Academy, and your committee cannot represent the Academy. Without the protection of the branded legion, this Academy would not even exist. We are the masters of this Academy. You better understand this clearly. Lampard was one of the vice-captains, and he was the most active one. Bastard. Shameless. Professor Jiang said angrily. I finally understand. You don't care how Roland and Tang Xing died, and you don't care if they betrayed the Academy. They are dead, and you people see the chance to replace them? Lampard said coldly. Shouldn't the branded legion be in charge of the Academy? You people should be researching academic problems, not managing the Academy. You don't have that ability. If you control the Academy, it will be finished sooner or later. Yes, we cannot let the committee control the Academy. Get those committee members to scram back to teaching. The branded legion should be managed by themselves, not some committee. The branded legion erupted in an uproar. Dozens of branded warriors walked to the center of the square and surrounded the committee members. You are not branded warriors at all. Bai Ling said angrily. You are thieves. You are the same as Roland and Tang Xing. For your own interests you can do anything bad. Arrest her and make her shut up. Lampard Delvey ordered. A branded warrior grabbed Bai Ling's arm. Let go of me, let go of me. Bai Ling struggled, but her struggles were useless. Capture them all and bring them to the training base for interrogation. Lampard then gave a second order. Dozens of branded warriors moved quickly and captured all the committee members in the blink of an eye. A smile appeared on Lampard's face. Roland and Tang Xing were dead. The one who benefited the most from their deaths was obviously him, and he was also the happiest one. Let go of teacher Bai Ling. A male student rushed forward and opened his arms to block the path of the branded warrior who wanted to take Bai Ling away. The branded warrior glanced at Lampard, seemingly seeking Lampard's instructions. Lampard did not give any instructions as he strode toward the male student. What are you trying to do?" the male student who was blocking the way asked nervously. Lampard Delvey suddenly punched the male student in the chest. Bang! Gotcha! Under Lampard's punch, the male student's chest caved in. The huge impact sent his entire body flying. After flying for more than 10 meters, he fell heavily to the ground. After the male student fell to the ground, his mouth and nose were bleeding, and he could not get up again. Lampard Delvey had actually killed him with a single punch. No, Bai Ling screamed and tears flowed out of her eyes. The male student who had been beaten to death was her student. His results and character were excellent and she liked him very much. "Who else dares to oppose?" Lampard roared. "Who else?" No one dared to stand up. Not everyone had the courage to challenge power and face death. The students, scholars, and teaching staff of the academy were very angry, but they were very clear about the terror of the branded warriors. Even if all of them rushed forward, they would not be a match for the branded army. This kind of anger from being suppressed by power was like a flame burning quietly in their hearts. However, it was only burning, and they did not dare to vent it out. No one objects. "Very good. Take them away," Lampard said, and his face revealed a smile again. A familiar face suddenly walked out from the crowd and entered Lampard Delvey's line of sight. His smile froze in a second. It was Charlotte's face. Charlotte strode toward Lampard. Lampard endured the nervousness in his heart and braced himself to say, "Mr. Xia, you are an honored guest of our academy. I hope you can calm down and not participate in our academy's internal affairs." Charlotte stopped in front of Lampard. He glanced at Lampard indifferently, then shifted his gaze to Professor Jiang. "Professor Jiang, did you not announce my identity?" "Your identity?" Professor Jiang, who was being held down by a branded warrior, had a confused expression. "It seems that you have forgotten. I remember you said that you would hire me as the honorary dean of the Heavenly Jewel Academy," Charlotte said. Professor Jiang was stunned on the spot. He was very clear that he had never said such a thing. Bai Ling suddenly understood Charlotte's intention. She said, "That's right. Teacher, you said that our academy would hire Mr. Xia as the honorary dean. I was there at that time and so were many committee members. We voted to approve it." Yes. I agree too. Mr. Xia is our academy's honorary dean." The committee members voiced their agreement. Professor Jiang finally understood. He also said, "Mr. Xia, you are our academy's honorary dean. You have the right to participate in our academy's internal affairs." Charlotte's gaze returned to Lampard. "Did you hear that? I am now the honorary dean of the Heavenly Jewel Academy. I have the right to handle the academy's internal affairs." Out of the corner of his eyes, Lampard Delvey glanced at the large number of branded warriors around him. Suddenly, he gained courage and sneered, "Who gave you the title of honorary dean?" "Our branded legion will not recognize your honorary dean status. Do you think you have the right just because you say you have the right? Now I ask you to leave. You are not welcome here." Charlotte sighed. "This is human nature. Greed. If you die, you will definitely die because of this word." "Are you threatening me?" Lampard said coldly. "I know you are very strong, but can you defeat all of us? I advise you not to do anything stupid. Get out before I change my mind. Do you know how Roland and Tang Xing died?" Charlotte's voice turned cold. Lampard immediately reacted. He subconsciously took a step back. "So it was you who killed Dean Roland and our Legion commander?" After taking a step back, he shouted, "Kill him! Take revenge for Dean Roland and Legion commander!" A large group of branded warriors swarmed forward. Charlotte moved, instantly appearing in front of Lampard. He stretched out his right hand and grabbed the top of Lampard Delvey's head. Diant. Charlotte's right hand suddenly squeezed, and with a crisp sound, Lampard's head actually exploded under his hand. In that instant, fragments of skulls, brain juices, and blood burst out from his hands in all directions, splashing onto the bodies of the branded warriors who were charging at him like water splashed out. All of the branded warriors froze. Everything that had just happened was like a -100°C freezing wave, instantly freezing them. Lampard Delvey was definitely one of the strongest branded warriors, but Siale had only stretched out his hand and crushed Lampard Delvey's head while he was still alive. With such absolute suppression, who would dare to charge forward? Who else has any objections? Charlotte's gaze swept across all of the branded warriors. His voice was calm, but it was filled with majesty and didn't allow for any resistance. No one dared to have any objections. Very good. A smile appeared on Charlotte's face. Then I shall be your honorary dean. I don't need any authority to manage the academy. However, if anyone dares to interfere with the committee taking over the academy, or if you guys dare to go against the orders of the academy committee, then I'm sorry. Roland, Tang Xing, and this Lampard will be your examples. The dozens of branded warriors, as well as the even more preparatory warriors, were all silent. Charlotte's gaze shifted to Bai Ling. You over there, if you continue to grab Teacher Bai Ling's hand, I will tear your hands off from your shoulders. As soon as he finished speaking, the branded warrior let go of his hand, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Bai Ling suddenly ran towards Charlotte. Charlotte seemed to have realized something, and he couldn't help but reveal a bitter smile. Oh my God, it's happening again! Before he could finish his sentence, Bai Ling's slender arms wrapped around his waist. Her soft and voluptuous body, her enchanting fragrance, as well as her pitiful teary eyes, drowned him in an instant. Since ancient times, beauties had always loved heroes. Bai Ling wasn't the first woman on his hero's path, and she wouldn't be the last. Chapter 1483. The blood in the laboratory disappeared under the washing of the water. Roland and Tang Xing's corpses were also thrown into the dark pit of corpses. There was no funeral, no mourning ceremony, not even a tombstone. Some people were destined to be spurned and forgotten. Roland and Tang Xing were obviously such people. Some people were destined to be accompanied by beauties, and Charlotte was that kind of person. Mr. Xia, this road is so hard to walk. How much longer do we have to walk? I can't walk anymore. On the hillside leading to the top of the volcano, Bai Ling frowned with a pained expression on her face. Charlotte raised his head to look at the top of the volcano. About a kilometer. We still have to walk a kilometer? Oh my God, I'm going to die on this road. Lark sat on a rock and did not want to leave. Charlotte looked at the pair of high heels on her feet. He had 700 or 800 words in his heart, but he couldn't say a single one. She knew that he was going to climb the mountain, yet she still followed him. If she wanted to follow him, then so be it. Why did she have to wear a skirt and high heels? Wasn't this just asking for trouble? My feet are hurting so much. Aren't you going to comfort me? Bai Ling frowned even more. Her black crystal-like eyes also had a hint of coquettishness. Her ex-boyfriend, Tang Xing, had probably never enjoyed such a coquettish attitude before. Then do you want me to take a look for you? Charlotte braced himself and asked. Of course. You're a man. It's only right for you to take care of a woman. A smile appeared on Bai Ling's lips. The rising eternal sun shone down with golden sunlight. The two dimples on her cheeks looked especially bright and cute in the golden morning light. Charlotte walked to her side, squatted down at her feet, placed her right foot on his thigh, and helped her take off her shoes. He only needed to use his X-ray vision to see the condition of her feet, but he didn't dare to. He was worried that after he used his X-ray vision on her feet, he wouldn't be able to resist looking at her thighs. After that, He wouldn't be able to resist looking at her thighs. That wouldn't be good. A white sock was removed from Bailing's foot. Her foot was white and her skin was smooth, delicate, and slightly transparent. One could vaguely see the red blood vessels under her skin. It looked like a work of art carved out of white jade. It was truly a jade foot. Every finger on her foot was so small and cute, and every fingernail had been carefully trimmed. The shape and length were just right, and the color was also pink, giving people a very delicate feeling. Seeing her jade feet, Charlotte secretly felt an itch in his heart, and a trace of heat emerged from his lower abdomen. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. No wonder Tang Xing wanted to give her a chance before he died and wanted to take her into his harem. Not to mention her beautiful face and the title of the most beautiful woman in the academy, just her pair of jade feet could make men's hearts move and let their imaginations run wild. Her heel had been scratched by the half-high heel, and the red and tender flesh was exposed. Her snow-white and translucent calves and snow-white and translucent jade feet were especially eye-catching with her broken skin and red and tender flesh. Coupled with her painful expression at the moment, people couldn't help but want to feel sorry for her and pity her. "Does it hurt?" Charlotte asked with concern. "It hurts." Bailing's voice was soft. Charlotte smiled and said, "Then why are you still climbing the mountain in high heels?" Bailing curled her lips slightly. "I thought it wouldn't be far. Who knew that you would climb to the top of the mountain?" Charlotte said, "I have to climb to the top of the mountain to send a signal to my spaceship and ask it to come over." "You?" Bailing's tone was a little more nervous and worried. "Are you going to leave?" Xia Lei smiled and said, "In the end I will have to leave. However, I do not dare to leave the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy now. If I leave, those fellows might start causing trouble again. I will help you rebuild the Branded Legion, and when everything has settled down, I will leave." "I want you to stay," Bailing said. This sentence could be understood from several angles. Charlotte smiled and didn't answer. "Aya, it hurts." Charlotte accidentally touched her wound, and Bailing immediately moaned. Her jade foot that was on Charlotte's thigh also moved back. As she moved back, her butt suddenly slipped off the rock, and her slender waist leaned back. She was about to fall. Charlotte suddenly grabbed her calf, and his other hand reached out to hold her slender waist. Originally, it should have been settled, but Bailing was too nervous. Just as Charlotte grabbed her calf and held her waist, she cried out in surprise and suddenly reached out to grab Charlotte's collar. Her whole body fell towards Charlotte, and she fell into Charlotte's arms. Her pert buttocks also sat on Charlotte's thigh, and her soft and firm breasts were also pressed against Charlotte's chest. If it were a man with weak strength, this action of hers would definitely make the two of them fall to the ground and roll a few times on the steep hillside. However, the squatting Charlotte was like a pine tree rooted on the hillside, not moving at all. However, the pine tree's root was pressed against the middle of Bailing's soft buttocks, and it was very hard. "You!" Bailing suddenly felt the presence of something, and her pretty face suddenly turned red. Charlotte was embarrassed, excited, nervous, and embarrassed. Half of his face also turned red. "That. Don't move, I'll carry you." "You should actually fall," Bailing said. "Charlotte, ? Your strength is as strong as God's. Just rub my feet like this," Bailing said. "I know you can do it. I don't want to sit on a rock." It's cold and hard. Charlotte's thighs were also very hard, but she selectively ignored it. Charlotte's current posture was similar to a horse stance. He had never done such a thing before, rubbing a woman's feet and treating her wounds in such a posture. He was in a bit of a dilemma, a bit embarrassed, and a bit upset. He actually wanted to refuse, but the words that came out of his mouth changed. "Well, okay, just don't move." His old habit came back again. He would never refuse a beautiful woman, especially when it came to this kind of thing. Bailing adjusted her posture on Charlotte's thighs, and she sat sideways. Her perky buttocks rubbed against Charlotte's thighs. She seemed to feel something stirring. Her pretty face, which was already half red, was now completely red. She didn't dare look at Charlotte's eyes. She bit her lips gently with her silver teeth, enduring the embarrassment that made her want to find a hole to hide in. Even so, she bravely lifted her injured foot so that Charlotte could rub it, and so that Charlotte could see it. However, she seemed to have thought things too simply. She couldn't stretch her leg in front of Charlotte in such a position to let him see and rub it. "Well, I'll sit down. You can sit on my calf." Charlotte sat on the ground. His buttocks were thick and firm. After sitting down, he straightened his legs to make it easier for Bailing to sit down. Bailing's position changed again, from Charlotte's thighs to Charlotte's calf. She and Charlotte were sitting face to face again. Charlotte smiled. "That's enough." Bailing avoided Charlotte's gaze. She bit her lips gently with her silver teeth, then slowly lifted her right foot, wanting to extend it in Charlotte's direction. The white knee-length dress slowly slid down her thighs, revealing a large area of snow-white delicate skin. Soon, when her injured foot stopped on Charlotte's lower abdomen, a pink scenery was revealed from under her dress. It was a pure cotton underwear. The shape of the plump and seductive dent could clearly be seen. Charlotte didn't look sideways as he focused on rubbing her ankle. He even spat some saliva on his finger, then applied it to the broken skin to disinfect it. He was very professional. At that moment, he looked like a gentleman who was not perturbed. His gentlemanly aura was shining brightly, but it was already protruding and deeply betraying him. "My foot climbed such a long mountain road. It must smell bad, right?" Bailing broke the awkward silence between the two of them. Charlotte moved his nose to Bailing's foot and gently sniffed it. Then he smiled and said, "It smells good. You have a natural fragrance on your body. I smelled it the first time I saw you. I've always been curious as to why your body smells so good." "I don't know either. I had it when I was born. Let me tell you a secret. My nickname is Xiang Xiang. It's a nickname my mother gave me." "Xiang Xiang?" Charlotte grinned. "This name really suits you." "There's a more fragrant place," Bailing suddenly said. "There's a more fragrant place? Where?" Charlotte looked very curious. Bailing bit her lip. "I'm not telling you. Guess it yourself." How was he supposed to guess? "Ha ha." Charlotte laughed. "Do you have a cleavage? Are you an idiot?" "What? Nothing." Bailing's eyes were full of disappointment. Charlotte continued to rub her foot, but he smiled bitterly in his heart. "I'm not a pig. Am I that stupid? If you want to keep me, the easiest way is to make me your man. But I can't stay. Sorry, I can only pretend to be a pig." He actually knew what Bailing was thinking, including the fact that Bailing was secretly calling him a pig. However, he could only pretend that he didn't know. His heart was also full of emotions. A man like Tang Xing had been dating her for half a year, but he didn't even get to kiss her on the lip. He didn't even see her smile often. But now, she had magnified it to such a degree. Not only did she let him see her jade foot, but she also let him rub it. She was such a gentle and elegant woman, but she used this method to make him stay and pursue him. He didn't know how much she had struggled in her heart and how much courage she had mustered. This was actually the reason why he didn't reject her. In the face of such a beauty, how could he simply reject her directly? How could he not be touched? "I'm much better. Let's go." Bailing seemed to have given up. Charlotte let out a long sigh of relief. This torture had finally come to an end. Bailing climbed down from Charlotte's body, but she didn't wear shoes. "Carry me on your back. With your great strength, you should be fine, right?" Charlotte was speechless. Chapter 1484. There was originally no road on the mountain, but there was a road where Charlotte walked with Bailing on his back. Bailing's lotus-like arms and ivory-long legs were like 4 vines tightly wrapping around him, not leaving a single gap for him to escape. However, he liked this kind of tight binding, especially the feeling on his back and buttocks. Bailing's plump breasts were pressed against his back, rubbing up and down as he walked. Her long legs were tightly clamped around his waist, and she was unreservedly pressed against his back. That place gave him the feeling before a summer rainstorm, humid and stuffy. Under all kinds of stimulation, the burning sensation in Charlotte's lower abdomen became more and more intense. Sometimes he even had the urge to put her down, press her on the ground, and do something ruthlessly. "Mr. Xia, are you and Commander Kanto really not lovers?" Bailing broke the silence between the two and asked Charlotte this question. "No, we're just very good friends." Didn't I tell you? Can't I confirm it again?" This sentence could also be understood from several angles. Charlotte did not dare to answer. It had not been easy for him to persevere until now, and he had been gritting his teeth to persevere. He could not give up because of such a question, right? Therefore, he chose to remain silent and pretend that he did not hear it. He was now like an Australian ostrich, burying its head in the sand when it encountered danger or trouble. It thought that it would be safe by doing so, but was it really safe? After hesitating for a long time, Bailing gritted her teeth and said, "I want to date you. No, I want to be with you." Charlotte bit the bullet and refused. "We've only known each other for a few days. Isn't this too fast? Is time a problem? When I first saw you, I felt that you were very special. There was a very special attraction to you, and I had some feelings for you when I first saw you. I'm a pervert. You should be afraid of me and avoid me," Charlotte said. "That's your disguise. I can see that you're not that kind of person. You saved me, my teacher, the committee members, and the entire academy. You are a hero. I've been waiting for my hero to appear, and then you really appeared. I don't want you to go, I want to be with you." In the end, she still confessed, so sincerely, so bravely and resolutely. Charlotte's heart was moved, and he was even a little shaken. He didn't know how to refuse. As a man who would never refuse a woman, or rather, he had the refusal defect syndrome, when faced with a woman like Bailing and such a sincere confession of love, it would be too much for him to refuse. Bailing blushed. "Am I being too hasty? Stuttering seems to be contagious." "Yes, a little." "Then, did I scare you?" That's not it. I'll give you some time to think about it, okay?" Okay. The two of them fell into silence again. Bailing's heart was full of worries. She had already done what she could. If her hero still couldn't be moved by this, she didn't know what else to do. A woman like her would never take the initiative to take off her pants and let Charlotte do something. What she did just now and what she did now was already her limit. Just like that, they arrived at the crater in the stuffy and hot weather. Charlotte put Bailing down and squatted on the ground. "Lift your foot, I'll help you put on your shoes." "Okay." Bailing responded softly. She held on to Charlotte's shoulder with one hand and lifted her right foot that wasn't wearing shoes or sock. The snow-white foot seemed to have a faint glow in the golden morning sun. It was crystal clear and had a lingering fragrance. He didn't know if he had seen a ghost or something, but Charlotte couldn't help but touch her foot. The creamy feeling made his heart itch, and he was very impulsive. Bailing's reaction was very sensitive when the sensitive sole of her foot was touched. She couldn't help but moan, and her cheeks were flushed. Along the way, she used her body to tease her hero. She gave him a stimulus, and Xia Lei would give her a stimulus in return. The power of stimulation was mutual, and she couldn't escape from this category even though she was a scientist. After all the stimulation along the way, her body had already built up enough desire. The amount of hormones in her body had reached the critical point, and she would explode with just a touch. Yet, Charlotte touched her foot at this time, Wasn't he playing with fireworks beside her even though he knew that she had a barrel of gunpowder? Your foot smells good. After touching it a few times, Charlotte restrained himself. He praised Bailing's jade foot while picking up a sock to put it on for her. He also raised his eyes slightly, sneaking a peek at Bailing's reaction. But as he lifted his head, he caught a glimpse of her pink underwear. It was tightly wrapped around a bulge, mature and plump. A dent was clearly visible, and it gave him a strong visual impact. Therefore, his eyes were suddenly glued to it and he couldn't move it. "I like you," Bailing suddenly said. Charlotte was stunned for a moment, and his eyes finally moved up. He saw a flushed face. "I love you." Bailing's voice was louder and more determined. "Oh no, my hand is dirty." Charlotte suddenly realized something, and his whole body froze. At that moment, Bailing suddenly pounced on Charlotte, and in an instant she pushed Charlotte, who was holding the sock, to the ground. The ground was hard volcanic rock, and it was full of potholes, but she couldn't care less. Anyway, she wasn't the one below. She pushed Charlotte to the ground and she kissed Charlotte's lips. Her kiss was clumsy, but it was full of passion and courage. "Bailing, you're cold, Charlotte originally wanted to say, "Bailing, calm down," but just as he opened his mouth, before he could finish his sentence, a lilac tongue went into his mouth. At that moment, it was soft and creamy, and the fragrance filled his mouth. It felt like chewing a sweet lotus seed in his mouth. It was very special and very tasty. A woman who was born with a unique fragrance, of course, her tongue was also fragrant, and her kiss was naturally different from others. Charlotte's tongue couldn't help but start singing after a second. Without a doubt, the kiss with Bailing was the most wonderful kiss he had ever kissed. The fragrance made him unable to control himself. How could a person with rejection disorder, who couldn't even instinctively reject a confession, have the strength to reject what was happening? To hell with the rejection. A few seconds ago, Bailing was the one who initiated the attack, and a few seconds later, Charlotte's hands became dishonest. When his hands were dishonest, Bailing's hands followed suit. Both of their hands explored each other's bodies, searching for something. In the end, they decided to play a game of stripping. Therefore, in the chaotic entanglement, both of their clothes fell to the ground one by one. Bailing was originally on top, but in the end, she returned to the position that a woman should be. There was not a single part of her skin that wasn't red, and her body was trembling slightly. She was so nervous that she could die. The ground under her was hard and full of potholes, but she couldn't feel it. She anxiously and nervously waited for the most important moment of her life to arrive. She closed her eyes, but there was still a slit in her eyelids. She saw her hero and her little hero pressing down on her. At that moment, she cheered in her heart, "My hero." However, at this happy and tense moment, the light above her head suddenly dimmed. Charlotte, who was already knocking on the door of happiness, suddenly stopped and looked up at the sky. A giant spaceship descended from the sky, and the white clouds crumbled under its weight. Bailing opened her eyes. She was lying on her back, and she saw the giant spaceship. She was stunned. "Is that your spaceship?" Charlotte suddenly climbed up from Bailing's body. "Put on your clothes." "That's not my spaceship. I haven't sent a signal yet." "Then, that's the Blue Moon people's spaceship." Charlotte grabbed the small items on the ground and quickly put them on. That's mine." It was Bailing's voice. Xiaolei looked down and was speechless on the spot. Because of his panic, he had worn the pink underwear. When he really wanted to take it off, he saw the white Bailing grab his underwear and put it on. He didn't care too much, and quickly put on the blue tank armor as well as the jacket. When he was done, Bailing was also done. After all, she was only wearing a dress this time, and wearing a dress did not take much time. The spaceship in the sky had already descended to an altitude of about 5,000 meters, and a huge shadow covered the whole island. It was originally a sunny day, but in the blink of an eye, it looked like it was going to turn dark. Charlotte also saw clearly that it was not a transport spaceship, but a battleship. Dozens of battleships flew out of the battleship and quickly swooped down toward the island. We've been discovered. This mountain is bare. We can't escape. Bailing was panicking, and her eyes were filled with fear. Charlotte suddenly squatted in front of her. Get on my back, quick. Bailing's brain was filled with fear, and she almost instinctively climbed onto Charlotte's back. Charlotte carried her on his back and ran down the hill. The universal mark trembled, and the power of the mark was released from his body like mercury. It enveloped him and Bailing, distorting and absorbing light, and shielding their body's aura. Almost instantly they entered a state of invisibility. However, Bailing did not know what kind of state she was in. When she saw the Blue Moon people's battleships flying close, she was so scared that she started crying. Sob. These D*MN people, why did they appear at this time? I regret it so much. Why didn't you appear earlier? I'm still Can't a virgin go to heaven? Her mind was clearly in a mess. Don't be afraid, don't cry. They can't see you. Charlotte bit the bullet and comforted her. They can't see me? Did you forget what happened in the lab? Did you see me before the fire sprinkler? No. Bailing suddenly understood something and said excitedly, You have an invisibility device. Am I right? You took off my clothes just now. Did you see any equipment? No, but... Bailing suddenly understood something. Oh my God, you have an invisibility ability. Don't say anything. They're coming. Charlotte suddenly slowed down his pace. Whoosh. A Blue Moon people's battleship whizzed over their heads. It was shaped like a shuttle, and it was different from the aircraft he encountered in the wasteland of Area 51. It was bigger, equipped with energy missiles and energy cannons, and its firepower was more than 10 times stronger. Dozens of battleships flew around the island as if they were scouting something. Charlotte was also extremely nervous. Chapter 1485. He could not help but be nervous. Dozens of Blue Moon fighter jets had enough firepower to destroy an entire city. If he was discovered at this time, he could escape, but he had no way to protect Bailing. She would die here. He was really worried that Bailing would break down under the pressure and do something abnormal. Because if that happened, he would be powerless to reverse the situation. However, his worries seemed to be unnecessary. Bailing was indeed very nervous, but not to the extent of breaking down. Her only reaction was to hug him tightly, not leaving a single gap. A Blue Moon fighter jet hovered above the two of them, and Xia Lei also stopped in his tracks vigilantly. It was not a problem for him to maintain this state of invisibility, but if the other party was very close, it was impossible for him to not leave traces on the ground while carrying a person on his back. If the other party was careful enough, it was entirely possible for them to discover the traces he left behind on the ground, and that would be very dangerous. After stopping, Charlotte raised his head to observe the Blue Moon people's fighter jet above him. He was surprised to find that the fighter was only a few dozen meters above the ground, but he could barely hear the sound of the engine, nor could he feel any heat being released. The fighter jet was very quiet. However, he knew very well that the Blue Moon Empire's technology was still the same. More than 3,000 years had passed, and the Blue Moon Empire's technology had not been improved much. At this moment, Lark suddenly put her mouth on his ear, and her voice was softer than a mosquito's buzz. Have we been discovered? No. Charlotte said, If you feel nervous, you can talk to me. Don't worry, your voice can't be heard. Bailing heaved a sigh of relief, but this sigh went straight into Charlotte's ears. Charlotte shuddered. I said you can talk, but you can't blow into my ear, I won't be able to stand it. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Bailing whispered into Charlotte's ear. She did not realize that the way he spoke to Charlotte was no different from kissing Charlotte's ear. In a tense environment, people's nerves would become especially sensitive. Charlotte shamefully discovered that Xiaolei had stood up again. It was so hungry and thirsty that it wanted nothing more than to pounce on Lark and bite it. He quickly diverted his attention. "Only Lan Yu would come here? Has this ever happened before?" Bai Ling said, "It happened. I remember it happened once when I was young. I think I was 10 years old at that time, when my mother was still alive. That year, the Heavenly Jewel Master Academy had moved to an underground cave in the 17th district. Not long after, the Blue Moon Empire's battleships arrived. However, they were only scouting the area and did not enter the underground cave. That time, we were lucky enough to escape. There must have been an investigation." "What was the result of your investigation?" Charlotte asked. "Our academy has its own intelligence network. They launched a series of investigations, which took 3 months. The result was that the Blue Moon Empire was unable to scout the area where the battleship was." After a pause, Bai Ling put her lips on Charlotte's ear again. "Let me tell you a secret. Xing Lei's corpse is on the battleship. His corpse contains a mysterious energy that can interfere with the Blue Moon Empire's detection of us. This is also the reason why the Academy has been able to survive until now. However, the Academy cannot stay in one place for too long. If a place is shielded for a long time, the Blue Moon Empire will definitely be suspicious. This secret concerns the survival of the Academy. Don't tell anyone." Charlotte said, "How can you tell me such an important secret so casually? You are not an outsider. My title as the honorary principal is fake. You know it." Bai Ling suddenly opened her mouth and gently bit Xia Lei's ear with her jade-white teeth. "Ow!" Charlotte cried out. "Why did you bite me? I am not talking about your title as the honorary principal. I am talking about your other identity." "What identity?" "My lover." Charlotte was speechless. "Don't try to deny it. You are already in there." "What? That? What do you mean?" "Just a little." Charlotte was speechless. His reputation had been ruined because of that little bit. However, coming from the mouth of a woman like Bai Ling, who was extremely knowledgeable and self-restrained, it was really alluring. Charlotte suddenly realized that all his worries were unnecessary. Bai Ling had found enough security from him. Although there were dozens of Blue Moon Empire fighter jets circling above her, she still had the mood to confirm their relationship. She even took the initiative to flirt with him. He could never understand a woman's world. At that moment, a small transport ship flew out of the battleship and quickly landed on the crater of the volcano. Charlotte stopped thinking about other things and focused all his attention on the transport ship. His eyes quickly caught a glimpse of the Blue Moon Empire's words on the side of the transport ship. The content was, 50 crew, 5 fighter jets. Charlotte's heart sank. They are going to land. We have to get everyone to hide and get ready for battle. Bai Ling became nervous again. They should have found out long ago. I am afraid that even the power has been turned off. What should we do? She finally remembered their situation. Charlotte thought for a moment. We can't go back. It will be easy for them to find the entrance to the volcano. Let's go to the forest on the island and hide. Okay, Bai Ling answered obediently. The fighter jets hovering above them finally left and flew towards the top of the mountain to protect the transport ship as it landed. Charlotte finally got the chance to leave. He did not dare to stay any longer and sprinted towards the forest at the foot of the mountain. Along the way, he chose to step on the larger rocks with a relatively flat surface to minimize the noise and traces left behind. During the intense running, he held onto one of Bai Ling's buttocks with all his strength. His 10 fingers were almost embedded into her soft and bouncy breast. What bothered him even more was Bai Ling's plump breast. As she ran, her soft and firm breasts kept hitting his back. It felt like she was hitting his back with jelly. Charlotte felt his whole body was full of energy. He even felt like he could run 100 kilometers with Bai Ling on his back. The transport ship of the Blue Moon Empire landed. The hatch opened and the Blue Moon Empire soldiers in heavy armor walked out. Then, 5 heavy combat mechs walked out of the cabin with heavy step. 50 infantrymen and 5 heavy fighter jets gathered at the top of the mountain. In addition to the dozens of fighter jets circling in the sky and the huge battleships that blocked out the sun, the scene was very oppressive. This was the Holy Thunder's opponent. In fact, this was also Charlotte's opponent, and this was only the tip of the iceberg. After the formation was completed, a Blue Moon infantryman threw an energy grenade into the mouth of the volcano. Kaboom! A loud explosion sounded in the volcano. The shock wave from the explosion even spread to Charlotte's feet. He could feel it clearly. It was just an energy grenade, but it had the power of a cannonball. If he wanted to fight the Blue Moon Empire head-on, his weapon had to be upgraded. After the energy grenade exploded, Charlotte finally rushed past the barren hillside and arrived at the forest at the foot of the mountain. However, even with the trees blocking the vision of the Blue Moon infantrymen and fighter jets, he did not dare to deactivate his invisible state. This was because there were still dozens of Blue Moon fighter jets and the huge battleship in the sky. Did they discover the Nuwa? The energy grenade's explosion made Bai Ling even more nervous. Charlotte said, "There is no entrance to the volcano. If they threw the grenade without seeing the entrance, it must be a test. I hope the branded warriors are smart enough not to come out and fight at this time. Otherwise, it will be bad." Bai Ling's gaze moved to the huge man-made rock on the hillside. At this time, she was really worried that the branded warriors would rush out and fight. Charlotte seemed to feel her worry. He gently held her butt and said, "Don't worry. Even if the worst happens, you still have me. I will protect you and the academy." His comfort made Bai Ling feel a little better. Her voice was very gentle. "Put me down. You must be exhausted. We should not be discovered in the forest." "However," Charlotte said, "the range of my invisible ability is limited, and we need to be together. If we separate, the heat detectors on the fighter jets will likely discover you. But you can't keep carrying me like this. It's too tiring." "It's okay. I can do it." Bai Ling thought for a moment and bit her lip. "Why don't we lie down? That way you can maintain your invisible state and get some rest." The brain of a knowledgeable woman was really useful. Only then did Xiaolei put Bai Ling down. With both feet on the ground, Bai Ling carefully hugged Charlotte's neck and squeezed from his back to Charlotte's front. After that, she let out a long sigh of relief. Blushing, she said, "What level of union are you referring to?" Charlotte suddenly became nervous. "No, not that kind of union. We just need to stick together." Bai Ling rolled her eyes at Charlotte. "Do you think I'm that kind of loose woman? How can I still think of that kind of thing at a time like this? I just don't know how to do it." "Well, you've already made it very clear. So, am I on top or below?" Charlotte was speechless. Just as the men and women in the forest were embarrassed by their intimate positions, the infantry of the Blue Moon people split into 5 small teams. Each team was equipped with a combat mech, and they began a carpet search of the mountain from different directions. Just as Bailing was lying on the soft grass with Xiaolei on top of Bailing, 2 women walked down from the spaceship. If Charlotte didn't look at Bai Ling's nervous and shy face and looked at the top of the mountain, he might be able to see the faces of these 2 women. He wouldn't be unfamiliar with them because one of them was Lon Sidi, who had tried to kill him before, and the other was the traitor of humanity, Lulele. This interracial lesbian couple actually came as well. "Darling, you can see the entire island from the expedition with one glance. There isn't even a hut on this island. How can there be an academy?" Lulele asked. She was wearing a tight red leather armor. Her body was as hot as fire, and her body was as hot as fire. Lon Sidi looked at the dense forest at the foot of the mountain. Her eyes were sharp. Baby, don't you think it strange? The blue moon orbits the eternal sun, and every place is under its surveillance. However, there's an interference field here, and the blue moon can't get high-definition aerial images. This has happened 3 times. I'm in charge of intelligence now, and I have to figure out what's going on with this island. Lulele hugged Lon Sidi's slender waist. Darling, you're a genius in intelligence and espionage. You should have been the head of intelligence for the Empire a long time ago. They're only using you now. Is there a special situation? You naughty girl. If you want to know the secret, just tell me. Lon Sidi grabbed Lulele's butt, and her long fingers dug into Lulele's fat. Darling, you know I'm very curious, Lulele said. That's because our divine king Uru-E is about to awaken, and a new round of cleansing is about to begin. The humans of this world will be wiped out, and we'll move to the next planet to start a new era, Lon Sidi said. Lulele was slightly stunned and suddenly raised her head to kiss Lon Sidi's lips. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.